Wild stories you've not heard before. Echoes through the air, they roar. Unleash the beast, let your spirit soar. Fists in the air, the crowds ablaze. Moments that seal the mundane taste. No fear, no hold in this maze. Reach the peak of these wild days. It lives, Friday night lives. You die, but Friday night lives. Hosted by Deadbeat Radio. Stuntman, Marq, and Rambo Rap. Fists in the air, the crowds ablaze. Moments that steal the mundane taste. No fear, no hold in this maze. Reach the peak of these wild days. It lives, Friday night lives. You die, but Friday night lives. Hosted by Deadbeat Radio. Stuntman, Marq, and Rambo Rap.
Welcome back, Bulls. How's everybody doing tonight? We're up for another edition of Friday Night Lives. This is kind of a recoup from one we did previously. We had to take a break because, like I said, unfortunately, Marq was abducted by a cartel. As we all know, that's the price that he pays for doing business the way that he does. But he got loose through his, Brazilian jiu-jitsu skills, and he's back with us. Hopefully, he's back with us at some point.
Yeah, he's currently out running the Sicario. So
Yeah.
after he does a few maneuvers and a few stunt quality rounds, he'll join us.
Yeah, well, that's the
In the
thing. I
pit.
mean, about being tagged and followed by cartels, you got to kind of try to lose him. So you got to give him some time on that. CK survived a hurricane. He rocked it like a hurricane. He got out of that. So I was amazed that nothing came out of that, man. But somebody asked about that. For anybody wondering, like, he's fine. I heard from him this morning, and he made a bunch of posts about it on Instagram too. He's doing good somehow or another. Like, it must have gone around where he was at, and he seems to be good. But that's a mess out there, man, right now.
Yeah, I mean, in all seriousness, best wishes to people in Florida, as well as I believe Georgia and other parts that are affected. I know how that goes. So if anyone out there is in Florida and such, wish you the best, and hope anyone out there listening, you're doing well and a swift recovery.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that was probably one of the biggest storms it's been all year, if not the biggest, I'm sure. So our plan tonight is, and I know sometimes people will get on here and they don't exactly know what we're doing. Our plan is each one of us will have 5 movies, and we'll have honorable mentions and things like that too, but we'll have 5 movies from each year. And with those movies, we're going to pick like our top 5, and they're all going to be ranked. So in 86, there'll be 5 from each one of us. They're going to be ranked 87, so on and so forth. We're going to go through up until we get to 89. And the man of the hour, too sweet to be sour, funky like a monkey. Oh, yeah. Oh, there he is. Yeah.
What's up, guys? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah. Sounds good.
I love the grandmother headphones.
Wait a minute, Marq. I feel like, wait a minute. That's not a background, is it? Like, that's an actual.
No, that's all real. That's the real deal.
He lost the technology, as well as the internet. The internet killed his backdrops.
That's right.
So what happened? Did they explain what happened to the internet? It just decided to end its life randomly?
So this was an issue that happened a few years back where everybody's like internet box just shit the bed, basically. I think that one was due to like a storm or something. In this case, it was only a few people, and I was one of the few. They didn't give me an exact reason, but either way, I'm back in business. And being without the internet for 2 weeks and only on my phone was pretty shitty. So I'm just glad to be back on.
At least you escaped the Sicario.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were really worried about you in the cartel situation where you got kidnapped.
How was Chuck Norris when the Delta Force rescued you?
Yeah, they buried me just with a cell phone like Ryan Reynolds. That's what happened.
Forgot about that movie. That was a trip of a movie, man. To watch a dude like be trapped in a coffin for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I was just explaining though, Mark, like what we do on here. I mean, because some people like they don't know exactly how we do it. But if you watch the other show, and there is another one of these that does 80 to 85, we're going to do 86 to 89. These are all films. These are not just horror films. This is not restricted to like any kind of genre. These are just our 5 personal favorite films from each year from 86 to 89. And a bunch of honorable mentions and shit like that too. We're going to go through them. Like each person will go through them, like, by year and see what happens. Like this is like a fun show to do just because like it's usually pretty different, but sometimes like with certain years, and I'm thinking 86 will be one of those years, there's going to be some overlap. Like there's got to be just because of like a couple of films that are on here. But
Definitely.
if you guys like want to put your favorite films from those years in the chat, I will read all of them, like, or as many of them as I can, off too. But yeah, we can start though, man. Like, I don't know who went first last time. Was it Marq?
Me.
I think it was Rambo.
All right, Matt, you're up first, and this is 1986.
Well, this was a difficult year because this is literally one of my favorite years for films. But I decided for each year I put 3 honorable mentions since I learned last time we should have honorable mentions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the 3 honorable mentions, I'll just name all 3. Maximum Overdrive, April Fool's Day, and Crocodile Dundee. Maximum Overdrive, I don't care how much cocaine was used. I love every minute of it. Every AC/DC moment. Women being tapped by watermelons. Kids being attacked by lawnmowers. Fly like a pancake. I love gas stations with bazookas because the plot demands it.
Emilio Estevez with a bazooka. Yeah.
Yeah. Adios, motherfucker. It's so much fun. If semi-truck people go splat, we made you, and she just gets herself killed just for her mouth. I love everything about that movie, so I had to put that on honorable mention.
Definitely.
April Fool's Day. I mean, for those who haven't seen it, I won't give it away. It's a slasher, but it's not really a slasher. That's why it's kind of hard to say it. For those who've seen, you know what I mean. I just love the cast in that. I think it's a really good cast. Amy Steele, of course, big fan of hers. Love the music. The music by Charles Bernstein, very creepy melody. I like the murder mystery aspect, and I like the twist. I think the twist made a lot of people mad. I thought for this one film, it worked because of the title, without giving too much away. And then Crocodile Dundee, I think, is a great fish out of water. It was a huge hit when it came out. It was a nice love story because those two actually did fall in love during it. Of course, they're not together now, but I could see the chemistry. I thought Paul Hogan did a really good job as Crocodile Dundee, and it was a comedy that I watched a lot as a kid and still enjoy to this day. So, Crazy still doesn't have a good release, but what are you going to do? So, number 5, I got to pick Big Trouble in Little China.
Yeah.
Love the film. Jack Burton, such a great character. Such a very unique idea to make. If you think about Dennis Dunn as really the star, because he does everything. He can fight. It's his girlfriend who's kidnapped. He knows what's all the places, all the people. Really, Jack Burton's the sidekick, and he's an idiot, and he screws up all the time, but he's such a lovable character with that John Wayne kind of vibe. Such great lines. The check is in the mail. the what was it? The one time to shape the pillars of heaven. There's a lot of lines of dialogue in there. There's too many to name, but such a great, fun, inventive kung fu mysticism. Everything put into a blender. Sally was a flop because they did not know how to market it, but just such a fun vibe, and one of those few films I wish we could have gotten a sequel a few years later, but sadly that wasn't the case. But yeah, I love a lot about Big Trouble in Little China. Definitely a childhood movie for me, at least.
It's interesting on that movie too, because when I was a kid watching it, I kept waiting for like Kurt Russell to be the hero. And I didn't understand like what the hell was going on, like why he just kept like messing up. And you don't really get that until much later on when you're an adult and like you're figuring out like what Carpenter was doing, which was playing with that whole, hero archetype and everything, which was the one of the best parts about that movie. Is that he doesn't do anything really until the main end, until the very end. He does one thing. Yeah. The rest of it, he's just fucks up everything.
Matt, hearing like all the stuff that you got so far, I think our lists are going to be very, very similar. Yeah, I mean, you listed off a bunch of stuff I have for honorable mentions, and then like Big Trouble in Little China is my number 4. So yeah, it's going to be a very, very close list.
Well, you know what old Jab Burton says? What the hell? Number 4, which is funny because mine got sent out. Some people are getting theirs already. Mine will come maybe tomorrow, maybe Monday, but The Hitcher.
Oh, yeah, man.
I have no idea why Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars. That's still dumbfounding to me. Rutger Hauer, insanely good performance. Beautiful looking movie with the way they made the desert such a barren wasteland that really felt like a character of its own. It's a lot deeper movie for me that other films, it would be very superficial, very one note because of who could Rutger Hauer be. And you could like make your own theories. Was he just a crazed guy? Was he a phantom? Was he a guy just wanted to teach C. Thomas Howell how to be a man? Or this is a guy who wants to die and he finally found someone that might end his life? There's a lot of things you could look into. And just the way Rutger Hauer plays it with a smile and a lot of great lines like, oh, that's the guy who picked me up before you. Oh, he's not going to get really far. See, I took his legs and his hands and his head. I'm not going to do the same to you. And it has some really good action beats too. Unlike the remake where he's got to have 9 Inch Nails playing for some reason. This well done action sequences, C. Thomas Howell, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and again Rutger Hauer, wonderful performances, very intense, and blew me away when I first saw it on VHS, so I had to put on the list. The Hitcher to me is an all-time classic.
Yeah,
that's on my list.
Is that on yours too, Mark?
It definitely is. Love The Hitcher.
I think you're talking about Ebert, and I think that the main thing with Ebert around that time was like anything with women and violence they hated. Like they absolutely hated,
or little kids, yeah.
Slasher films and things like that had anything to do with like women, like they were just like all over that stuff. So I'd say, there's a particular scene in that movie, not to give it away, but I'm sure probably everybody's seen that movie where that probably just pissed him off.
Yeah. That's a killer scene, by the way. It's one of my favorites.
It's great. Yeah.
So number 3, my personal favorite comedy of all time. I've quote this movie a lot, and that is The Golden Child.
Oh, yeah.
I love The Golden Child so much because it's such a great definition for me personally of a guy who's just a regular guy in such an extraordinary situation. And like every line Eddie Murphy says, I laugh because I probably would say the same thing, whether it be I always think of the line where the Victor Wan stole his money, stole his $100, and then they got to get a boat without a motor, and Charlotte Lewis is just shut up and paddle. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna paddle. Go paddle his ass when I find him. Go paddle your ass when I find you. You hear me? Roll your ass till it bleeds.
Yeah, it's great. It's got so many lines in it, man. Like, brother Noopsy.
I see you busy right now.
Yeah,
I'll come back another
later.
time.
Uh,
And one more line, because there's tons of them. I could go all day. When he gets the golden child, they're driving, and the kid is so calm, and he's like, "Did someone slip you a Valium?" I'm ready to shit over myself. Love the synthesizer score. Yes, the effects are not the best, but at the same time, I could deal with them as a certain charm. Charles Dance is my sweet brother Numpsy. Great. He's done a lot of stuff after, but I always think of him as my sweet brother Numpsy. And yes, I still have that Golden Child poster. Someone sent it to me. It's a foreign poster. I have it over there actually. And I know it didn't do well. I know, well, it did well, but like Eddie Murphy hates the film.
it's weird.
But either way, always been a favorite of mine.
Yeah, it's just weird that he hates it to me, considering he did Coming to America too.
Exactly.
But anyway,
Number 2, Cobra.
Go
Yeah.
ahead. No, I knew that was gonna. I mean,
he's got your whole list, I think.
it is. I mean, Cobra is my number 2. Number 1 is Aliens. I mean, so it's.
Well, yeah, he gave away my number 1.
Yeah, no, I mean,
But yeah, number 2, Cobra, just being a big Sylvester Stallone fan. He was the guy I watched the most growing up, him and Jean-Claude Van Damme. And while it's sad that the violence was neutered because it was a 2-hour running time and they wanted more screenings because a Top Gun was making money, they wanted to compete. They should not have done that. Also, the MPA, they were just not just horror films, but action films they were going up against. But I love Brian Thompson as the Night Slasher. He's a very intimidating villain.
Mm-hmm.
And it was his version of Dirty Harry, but done in a very 80s style with the soundtrack, that beautiful, was a 1950 Mercury car. The certain gun was his Dijatomatic machine gun with the laser sighting. It was like if Death Wish meets a bit of, no, if Dirty Harry met like a little bit of Death Wish 3 with how over the top it is. And I love it. I love this, all the unique eccentric stuff. Cutting a pizza with scissors. Why? Just because.
Just because.
Just all the lines like, this is where the law stops and I start, sucker. I was like, I will blow this place up. Don't worry. I don't shop here.
Yeah.
But yeah, being a big fan of action films and Stallone films, that's why Cobra did it for me, among many other reasons. And yes, of course, number 1 is Aliens. I got the poster right behind me. I've watched it countless times and still can. To me, that is my favorite film of all time. There's been some movies that kind of going up and down, but I got to a point where I'm like, well, that kind of has everything I want. It has great characters, Hicks, Hudson, Ripley, of course, Bishop, wonderful cast, great story by James Horner, may he rest in peace. James Cameron, when he was worth a fuck, before he started like, Darth Fate is great and AI is fantastic, and I'm like, go butt plug in Avatar then, you fucking hack. Nowadays, fuck James Cameron. But back then he was worth a shit. Wonderfully directed, has an epic feel, has a good continuation story of a woman who's got PTSD, overcomes her fears. It's got a little bit of humor, it's got a lot of action. It has a good mother-daughter storyline. It has all the trimmings for me that what makes a good film, what makes a very rewatchable film. And that's one of those films that I guess you call comfort food. I could put it in, enjoy it, not get bored. And that's one of those films for me I can never get tired of watching. So I had to put Aliens as number 1 for me.
I think that we're all going to have that as number 1 for 86. Like,
Yeah, I mean, how do you not, you know?
you're right though. It's basically like the perfect blend of everything about the 80s that was great and everything about like those kind of action films that were great, like all in one movie. You got an amazing ensemble cast, like you were saying, great effects that still hold up to this day. great monsters, a great ending, great dialogue that people still quote to this day. There's at least 3 quotes in that movie that people still talk about to this day. Like, and pretty much everybody that watches films knows them too. And yeah, just badass weapons and everything about that movie is great.
Mm-hmm.
And you got super chat from William.
Let's see. William says, I just got to see the new Coppola film. I guess that's Megaflopolis. And he says, what a mess. I would describe it as Neil Breen film with a budget.
Oh no.
Okay. That is a fucking, well, I mean, I think everybody pretty much saw this coming for poor old Coppola.
Poor Coppola.
All that money down the drain.
Yep.
Time to celebrate.
I think those are pretty great picks, though, considering like that year was stacked. But I feel like that, like, it was the further you go along, the more stacked the years get. Actually, like, it gets harder and harder. Like from 87 to 89,
Especially 87. Oh my
Yeah.
god. I got like 50 movies on here.
86 was the only easy one for me to pick a number one. I'll put it to you that way. Like,
Gotcha.
I knew when I saw 86 what the number one was going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. But who was next on? Like, I don't remember. Like how
It was Marq, and then you and Uncle Bill.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even know how the hell I follow this up. I mean, he said all mine. I guess I'll go with at least some of my honorable mentions. I don't think you named these. So I had Demons 2, which is a very fun sequel.
Hell yeah.
Just a lot more chaos than the first movie. Amazing practical effects that still hold up. Yeah, it's one of the funnest like demon movies of the 80s for sure. Psycho 2, another honorable mention. One of the very few sequels that is probably as good as the original. That would be a short list of sequels, I think. Yeah, I've talked about that one a million times though. And you named pretty much everything that's in my top 5. My number 5 would be Hitcher. I remember seeing that one on VHS, and it was so funny because I had to go to school, and it was right before I could only watch like 30 minutes of it. So you guys remember the scene where he's like in the desert and he's like, no, screaming.
Yeah.
Which was an amazing scene, but then I had to leave and go to school. So the entire day, that's all I thought about. And that was my first viewing of Hitcher. I had to stop at one of the most pivotal points in the movie, and just my mind's going in every different direction, trying to figure out what could happen next. How's it going to end? And when I finally did finish it, obviously it was worth the wait. The Hitcher is fantastic.
Wasn't Psycho 2 83? 1983?
Hold on. I'm gonna have to fact check that.
That's okay. I did the same thing. I thought 48 Hours came out in 1983. And I'm like, shit. That's why I had to put it on my list.
The only reason I was thinking about it is
it.
because I was thinking like we actually talked about that one.
I said Psycho 2. I meant Psycho 3.
Psycho
Sorry.
3.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Psycho 3.
Also, you think Psycho 3 is as good as the first?
No.
Oh, okay.
Damn, I was gonna say that's a hot take right there.
No, definitely not. But I do enjoy it quite a bit. It's one of my favorite of that franchise. 2 and 3. I like 4, but 3 has Jeff Fahey, and he's just fantastic in every way. It's very, very fun though.
You know what 4 has though? 4 has
what's that?
Olivia Hussey like getting
Hmm.
freaky.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like, real freaky. And it's Mick Garris. I don't know. You take that for whatever it's worth, but yeah.
That's one of his better movies though. I
It
think.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. So I already said my number 4, Big Trouble in Little China. Number 3, Maximum Overdrive.
So what did you like about Big Trouble in China? Like, this is a W4.
I mean, it's a very offbeat kind of movie for Carpenter to do, I think. I mean, to me, I don't think he did much stuff that was similar to that before or after. Of course, Kurt Russell. I'm a big Kurt Russell fan. That's obvious by my online name. But the whole cast, everybody, the story. I don't mind the effects. I know people would probably shit on it for that at least, but I still think it's a very fun movie. Easily one of my favorite Carpenter movies. There's not a whole lot that Carpenter's made that I really hate or dislike. You know what I mean?
Especially in
So,
that time period. Like he was just
yeah,
everything he came out with.
exactly like he was hitting on all cylinders. Seems like the man could do no wrong. Pretty much any genre he touched, he made something really great and worth watching.
Especially
over
the
and over.
Ward.
Oh,
No,
God.
that's
What
not
was
that time period.
No,
That's
was that
that's
like
what-
2010? I think.
I don't
Yeah.
So yeah, Maximum Overdrive. I mean, everything about it, soundtrack, the kills. I mean, hell, you covered it all. I mean, even the most minor characters are memorable and hilarious, like the fucking Bible salesman guy.
Yep.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just pure fun. I wish King had done a few more around that time with the same powdery substance as like his fuel for. You know? But yeah,
Well, you mentioned minor characters. The one that popped up was, I don't even know the guy's name. Bailey just busts through the doors like, "What the fuck's going on?" just because.
exactly.
And I wish we
Yeah.
could see the uncut version. But
That would be nice. Same for Cobra. I mean,
Yep.
I'd like to see the uncut versions of all these. I mean, you know that those like film elements have to still exist somewhere. I have a hard time believing. I mean, why throw that stuff out?
well,
or
Stephen King
discard it?
despises it, and same with everybody else. So that's why you won't see it.
Well, but wouldn't that be more so up to like the person that has the rights? Like, I mean, does he really have a say over the rights to that movie?
Maybe, I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe that footage, I don't know.
Well, then in the case of Cobra, I mean, does that still exist? That footage?
I don't think so. I think Warner Brothers, they didn't care. I'd love to be proven wrong, but I'm not holding my breath.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, hell, I saw the Demolition Man thing coming out, but I don't think we're getting the footage for that.
No.
They just hate Stallone. They're like, okay, you'll make money for us, do a movie.
Or they can't find it. I don't think they were that
really?
competent. My guess is they can't find it. They're that footage, if it's somewhere, is hidden and it'll be found maybe in like 30 years. Or I don't think they were back then. I don't think Warner Bros. Really cared about cut scenes and stuff. A lot of
No,
companies didn't.
That's the thing. Like a lot of that shit just got trashed. Like it was. I mean, it wasn't an era for extras and anything like that. I just don't think they cared. They just got rid of all that a lot of times, or threw it somewhere that nobody will ever find it, or somebody will find it 40 years from now or something. Like, yeah,
Just like Paramount with Friday 13th Part 7. Paramount, that was another company that would do stuff like that.
Yep.
Yeah. I think it was Don May Jr. who talked about how like there's the studios have like all the alternate takes and all the different cuts and stuff that like they didn't use when they actually put the film together. So why not just leave all that stuff together and then just preserve it in the vault with the actual original negative? I mean, why pick through it and then throw away anything?
Yeah.
I don't get that. But yeah, my number 2 was Cobra, which I guess we just talked about it briefly. And then Aliens is number 1. Just one of the best science fiction action movies ever, as well as sequel. It just ups the stakes of the game in every way. Not just effects, the mythology. You get new characters that you actually care about, unlike Alien 3. That's a whole nother topic. But yeah, I love Aliens. I've probably seen it the most out of all of them, even over the first one. I mean, it's the one I go back to the most. That's the one I'll always go back to the most. I like Alien, but I mean, Aliens just it just has a little bit of everything,
And what did you like about Cobra? Like you mentioned it's number 2, but what did you like about it?
Probably like the slasher elements of it. mixed in with Stallone's badassery. I mean, it's a perfect combination. I love horror, obviously my favorite genre, but then you have action, which is my second favorite. You blend those two together, I'm hooked, and it's 80s Stallone. How could you go wrong?
Or Rhinestone, but
Yeah, uh,
but
yeah.
this is like a better 80s Stallone.
yeah. I mean, there's other examples of that. Like I think it's is it Chuck Norris, where obviously Silent Rage, but what's the other one?
The
Help
Hero
me
and the
out.
Terror.
Yes, I have that one, and I bought it, and I was so excited, but it was not Silent Rage quality at all. So yeah, but yeah, that's my list.
Great list.
So mine's a little bit different, but we've all got the same, a couple ones on here. I'll go ahead and do the honorable mentions. I'll mention one of my favorite films, Crossroads, with the legendary Ralph Macchio and Steve Vai and Ry Cooder playing guitar. And it's for anybody that plays music or anything like that. Like when you watch that movie, you're kind of amazed by the technical aspects of the guitar playing and stuff in it. And then you find out, like, that's what's funny is somebody made a video on YouTube and it's like what Ralph Macchio's shit that he's playing really sounds like on guitar. Like they transcribed like the positions he was playing. It's fucking hilarious, man. Nothing at all like the movie. But I mean, of course he's not playing it, but it's just hilarious to think that, he's would just mime this stuff and think that nobody would ever like question it. It's a great movie though. It's about him being like a blues player, a young blues player, and kind of coming to the actual crossroads like Robert Johnson, where he has to play the devil in order to like, save himself. And always love that movie. So Crossroads is one of my honorable mentions. And another one that nobody's talked about, so I'll bring it up too, is Little Shop of Horrors. Because I think that like that's probably one of my favorite horror musicals. I think Rocky Horror Picture Show will probably always be my favorite, but like that's like right up there in the top 3 probably. That movie is funny. It's dramatic. It's got good characters. It's got a good monster. It's got a great cult classic level scene with the dentist and Bill Murray and all that shit. Like, I mean, that's like a classic scene that I still love to this day.
I wanted to ask with that film,
Yeah.
do you like how it ended, or would you prefer that ending that was out that was much more downer? They took over the world.
I mean, I completely understand why they did that. Like audiences in the 80s are not going to they're not just going to go for that ending. Audiences nowadays would probably more go for that ending. I don't know. I don't mind it. Like, I don't mind the way that it ended or anything.
But do you have a preference?
Yeah, I would say I still prefer the theatrical version. The alternate ending, isn't that on a DVD too? Like, it's very hard to find now. Like, you can actually see the alternate ending. I mean, it's on YouTube, of course. Everything's on YouTube, but like, there's
Might
at
be
least
on the Blu-ray.
Is it on the Blu-ray too?
It might be. I think.
But yeah, I've always liked that movie.
Good one.
And then I guess if I had to pick a third, there's so many, man, in these years. Like, just notice how many like great movies there were then as opposed to now. If I had to name one more that's not been mentioned, I'd probably go with The Wraith. Charlie there's something about that movie that I absolutely love with Cassavetes and shit too.
Yeah.
He plays a great heel, and like all those guys play that great kind of like, punk greaser kind of heels, and just the whole movie is so fucking 80s that it's hilarious. And they're, I love the designs. I love the way that they did the movie where they never really showed the quote unquote wraith, throughout it until much further into the movie and all that. Really nothing I don't like about that movie. So my number 5 is Back to School. That's probably one of my favorite comedies of the 80s. Like I love Rodney Dangerfield's comedy, and that's like an infinitely quotable fucking movie. Like that can still quote to this day. There's the one scene where he's like, bring us a beer every 5 minutes until somebody passes out, and then bring us one every 10. And just like everything he says in that movie is quotable actually now. And the Sam Kinison scene where they're talking about Vietnam and all that shit. And like he gets up in his face and starts screaming at him about it, and then tears like the chair out and throws it. Like the triple Lindy, which is the dive that he does, which is clearly like some like bullshit editing, but it's great to watch. It's like I said, one of my favorite comedies. I could never get tired of watching that movie. Like it's just one-liners after one-liners. But you know, Dangerfield kind of perfected that in like Caddyshack. But that was his first feature film. I think it was just him that was carrying the whole film. And I thought he did a really good job throughout that too.
That's a great one. I love that and Easy Money. Those are very fun movies.
Yeah, Easy Money is
Oh,
great
man. I forgot about that one.
My number 4 is Stand By Me. Probably one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. It's not horror. Because it's built in the 50s, it's set in the 50s and everything, but it's essentially like everybody's life when you're a kid, and you have like a group of friends, and there's the one friend that's like the loner, there's the one friend that's like the smart one, there's the one friend that's like the heavy one. There's, you know what I mean? Like you got this whole like there's the funny one. Like it's just the archetype of like all these different friends that you run into when you're a kid. And they go on this journey, and everybody did something like this. I'm not saying everybody went out and found a fucking body, but everybody like went on some sort of adventure. In the 80s, you went out on bikes and stuff like that. Nobody was worried about getting kidnapped or diddled, and P. Diddy was still not like around. So you didn't have to worry about that. But like, you know what I mean? Like people just went out and did stuff like that. And you just went on journeys and tried to find stuff. But this is like the ultimate version of that movie where you want to see a dead body. And you know, everything in the world is getting in their way, and these greasers and things like that. When Kiefer Sutherland, you know, being amazing as always. But yeah, I mean, what's not to like about that movie, really?
That was one that I questioned. I mean, I have quite a few like that on here that I just couldn't decide. Like it's a tough year. I mean, hell, 87's even harder though. So
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for some reason, as it goes further along, it gets harder and harder, like into the years. So let's see here. My number 3. This one is definitely not on, but this is a movie I just grew up with. I think this might be more nostalgia than anything, but it also has one of the best performances of a character in any horror film that just comes out of fucking nowhere, and that is Night of the Creeps. Night of the Creeps is my number 3. Like, that's one of my favorite horror films. Like, I like that movie a lot better than I do Monster Squad. Like, I know Fred Dicker did them both, and people tend to gravitate towards Monster Squad, but like, Night of the Creeps is that kind of great mashup between like crime dramas from the 50s mixed with comedy, mixed with like horror from the 80s. It's a weird mixture of all those things, but the one thing that like holds that film together is Tom Atkins. Like it's almost like he's in a different film. He's on a completely different level than anybody else in that film. And like when he comes in and does a scene, like you just like you're watching everything that he does. It's just amazing. The slugs are killer. Like the idea of it and what happens, and like the Shane Black kind of dialogue that I guess was before Shane Black or right around the time Shane Black got started, I guess, like is just perfect for that movie. You know, the whole thing like screaming like banshees and and all that shit, and the thrill me, and they got good news and bad news, and like just quotes like that are all the way through the film. Like it's played as a straight up film in terms of like what's happening, but like nobody's taking it particularly seriously, which is a great way to kind of do a comedy like that, I think.
Yeah, the whole thing with Tom Atkins. I mean, it's the I don't want to say subplot, but more like character vendetta that he has against that corpse.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I mean, where he finally tracks him down at the end, and he does the slow kind of turnaround reveal.
Yeah.
And then it like, yeah, it's amazing, man. And like I said, pretty much everything he says in that movie is just gold too. So that's my number 3.
Okay.
My number 2 is Big Trouble. I put it up as high as 2. I think it's probably like that movie kind of defies genres to me. Like it's a bunch of different things, but you can't really like pin it down to like one thing. It's just a really good movie. Like it's really well done, and like has 5 classic characters in it. If you say Jack Burton and you say Lopan as 2, and then you say the Storms as the other 3, then that's 5 like characters that everybody will remember from that movie. So yeah. And then 1 is Aliens. What the fuck am I gonna say about it? Yeah, you always run Aliens. It just is possibly like the best action horror film ever. Probably the best action horror film ever. Really. I'm not sure what would be better. There is one coming up later on that might be better. I'll say that.
Yeah, I was
That
wondering.
I've got on my list.
I think
Maybe.
I know what that is.
Maybe. I don't know though.
Maybe.
But it's cool to hear your opinion, because you mentioned this before. That's not a franchise you guys really talked about on the show, because it's just sort of more sci-fi. So it's cool to hear your opinion on Aliens. Like I said, that's not one that was really on the radar for Dead Pit.
No, because we don't do a lot of sci-fi stuff. I think most people categorize that more as sci-fi and action as they do like horror. And
how would you classify it? Like action, but like, would you classify it a bit of horror or no?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got horror elements in it.
Yeah, I'd say it's all 3.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you're right. We haven't talked about it a lot in the past. And I recently went back and watched it again. It's a few weeks ago, and it's just like it's one of those movies that you effortlessly can watch. Like it just flies by, and like every part about it like catches your attention. There's no slow parts. There's no dull parts in that movie. Like it's just constant.
Look into my eye.
It's constant something going on. Yeah. Okay. So that's 1986. Let's see what some people have got. There's been a bunch of people that have posted.
Did you have any other honorable mentions, or was that it?
I had the 3. I was just going to keep it at 3.
Okay.
But I mean, there's more for everyone. I've got 20 movies listed here.
Yeah, same here.
But I have a feeling that most of them are going to come up here when we do these anyway. Let's see. Okay, for 86, I guess I'll start here. Let's see. Steve says, here's my list. Star Trek 4. Oh, Jesus, that's a deep cut. Cobra, the Transformers, Highlander, and Aliens. I'd completely forgot about Highlander, but that's a great one.
Nice.
Zach says Big Trouble's number 1 all the way. Most people are in on the Big Trouble love here. Let's see. Justin says 5's Highlander, 4 Cobra, 3 Aliens, 2 Big Trouble, 1 Friday the 13th Part 6. Damn. Would that be an honorable mention for either one of you guys for 86?
Mine, yeah. I love Jason Lives. I know your feels on it.
I love it. It's one of my favorites.
I do love it. It's my 3rd favorite of the franchise. I was probably top 3 of my Friday 13th list.
Cobra, Aliens, Top Gun. How the hell did we not say Top Gun either? or like at least mention
'Cause I didn't
Transformers
want it on
and
my list.
the Delta Force.
I mean, I like Top Gun, but I like Iron Eagle more. That'd be on my honorable
Yeah.
mention. Iron Eagle.
Mhm.
Still no Blu-ray for fuck's sake.
Manhunter, Henry,
Manhunter. Yep.
Vamp.
Fam.
Bam. Big Grace Jones, Mark.
That's right.
Number 5 from TV is Friday 13th Part 6. For Karate Kid Part 2. You know, I thought about that when I'm like, I love that movie, but there's just so many like movies in '86 that were amazing that like Karate Kid Part 2
Love that
is
one.
great, but like it just didn't make the list. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is another one like that too. Cobra and then Aliens.
I love the Cobra love. Awesome.
Yeah, this is another one too. I always had a love for Running Man growing up in the '80s.
Well, that's coming.
That's coming.
That's coming.
Silver Wings, kind of the same thing. Aliens, Big Trouble in China, The Hitcher, Friday Part 6, Karate Kid 2.
Solid list. Very solid.
Here we go. The Fly, Big Trouble in Little China, Little Shop of Horrors, Blue Velvet, and Poltergeist 2. Poltergeist 2 is amazing. Blue Velvet's amazing. Yeah, they're all great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You gonna let me in, aren't you? Let me in.
You're going
Proceeds.
to die.
Y'all gonna die in there. And then he just like immediately snaps out of it and walks away. That's the part that's killer right
Yeah.
there. When you watch that scene. He's like, all right, I'll see you later. We got Aliens, The Fly, Friday 6, Karate Kid 2, Ghostbusters 2. Was Ghostbusters 2 in '86?
No, he made a mistake and he put Stand By Me as 5.
Okay.
Just Ghostbusters 2 is 89. But he mentioned Stand By Me as number 5.
Okay, yeah, 8.5. I'll see that now. Oh, now this is something different. Something Wild, The Color of Money, Aliens, Little Shop of Horror, and Star Trek 4. Yeah. Ruthless People is great too. Alpha says Texas Chainsaw 2, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Demons, Blue Velvet, Armed and Dangerous. Look, I love Armed and Dangerous. Ain't no way that's on a top 5 list, man.
No.
My man,
Shit.
Alfa Romero, I love Armed and Dangerous, man.
I do too. I mean,
Everybody does, but
Eugene Levy, John Candy. I mean, come on.
fuck me.
Hey, if I
It's
could
amazing. I love it, but
I could put Going Child on my list. Alfa Romero, I'm fine with
Yeah.
you putting Armed and Dangerous.
yeah, that's fair. I mean,
Yeah, you put whatever
at
you
least
want.
it's actually one of the better comedies of that year. So I'm fine.
It's
with that.
crazy. Originally, John Carper was going to direct that film, and then
That's-
things didn't
That
work
is
out.
crazy. Yeah. Can't even imagine that for some reason. All right, boys, let's do it then. 87.
All right, so 3 honorable mentions for 87, one by one. Lethal Weapon. I
Mhm.
love Lethal Weapon. It was hard for me not to put this in the top 5 because it's one of the best buddy cop action films of all time.
Same here.
Excellent chemistry. Mel Gibson. How do you feel about him now? He's a great actor. Danny Glover. Got Gary Busey before he lost his mind, literally and figuratively.
Mhm.
They started, groping women at conventions. Just a great Richard Donner, Shane Black, wonderful collaboration. It's a Christmas movie. It's a great action movie. And there's a nice edge to it, which is Martin Riggs and what he's going through and the early scenes. Even the deleted stuff that's put in the director's cut where he's the shooter and hello, Mr. Sniper. Even the deleted scenes are worth watching. Classic buddy cop action movie. There were buddy cop action films before, but that really catapulted things to a whole other sphere.
Yep.
Mhm.
Another honorable mention, Beverly Hills Cop 2. I love that film.
Slippy's favorite movie.
Yeah, it is.
Sorry, I had to do it.
I hate women, so I love the movie, I guess.
That's one thing we know about Rambo. Hates women,
Yeah.
like can't stand, likes to fucking call them bitches and hoes and all
Yeah.
that.
But I love Eddie Murphy in that movie. I think it's great to see the cast come back. I love Tony Scott, one of the great directors, sadly passed away. Loved his filmography. And yeah, that Tony Scott feel, definitely more of an action film compared with the first. Great collaboration of the two, and it still has the humor. I'm Johnny Wishbone. The whole thing. Just very fun sequel, very worthy sequel. And then Over the Top. I love Stallone. It's the only arm wrestling movie you'll ever see, but goddamn, I'm glad it was made.
Yep. Turn the cap around backwards and go crazy.
Exactly. That's why I always have my cap backwards. It's like a truck.
Yep.
It's how to turn on. I love the soundtrack, and that's a film I watched as a kid, so maybe chalk it up to nostalgia, but I can relate to the father-son storyline, and I actually really liked it. I really liked the heart that it had. And yes, it's canon films, but you know what? I still sincerely love the film for what it was accomplishing, and I like how unique it is, even with the arm wrestling stuff. And I'm a big Stallone fan, so that helps a lot too. Although I still think Rhinestone sucks. Number 5, RoboCop. How to put RoboCop on the list. One more could be said. Paul Verhoeven, firing on all cylinders. Wonderful cast. Not just Peter Weller, but Kurtwood Smith. You bitches, leave.
Mhm.
Can you fly, Bobby?
Can you fly, Bobby? Can you fly? Which is funny because when El Rey had when that was a network people knew of, they would ask people on YouTube for little things, and they would put like a commercial. So you could find it like El Rey, RoboCop. I got with others on a commercial, like why we love RoboCop, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's the gore, the satire, the sense of humor, the nice makeup effects by Rob Bottin, has all the elements to it, and Paul Verhoeven, very just great director, as you would see in Total Recall, among many others. Let's see. Number 4. Actually, this one come maybe a bit surprised for people. 3 Men and a Baby. I love.
Holy shit. I did not see that one coming. I don't even think I had that on this list. Like as being a movie that came out that year.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was the biggest film that came out that year. It was the biggest hit. And that's another film I saw a lot when I was a kid. And I love the 3 actors, Tom Selleck, Steve Guttenberg, and Ted Danson. I love the comedy, directed by Leonard Nimoy, Spock himself. I thought it was very heartfelt. I thought it was very funny. Thankfully, it's not relatable, at least not yet. And like I said, I like the chemistry all 3 had together. There's still great lines, great scenes, and whether they're trying to put the diaper on. It's like I build buildings, I put on a goddamn diaper. It just puts it on, it falls down, and it pisses on him. And even when like Steve Guttenberg and Tom Selleck are fighting, and then Steve just comes in, we should start, goddammit, and all the baby power falls off and everywhere. And Tom Selleck just goes, you're cleaning that up. Just really like the characters in that, and yeah, very nostalgic film. Love 3 Men and a Baby.
I'm almost positive I saw that movie in the theater too.
Really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Because of my age that time, and like that would have been like one of the the films that my parents would have taken me to. They would have let me go into. Because I kind of remember that. Like I remember parts from it, like being in the theater and stuff. But yeah.
So that's my number 4. Number 3, Evil Dead 2. I'm mad at myself not putting Evil Dead because I love the first Evil Dead. But again, these years, there's only so many films we could choose. I love the first Evil Dead. Evil Dead 2 is my favorite. I love the energy. I love Bruce Campbell's Ash becoming like from normal guy to like action hero and doing like the cliches, the little montage, the one-liners, the chainsaw for her hand. A lot of that was developed because of Evil Dead 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty much a remake to the first, but I like the blend of humor and horror. I like the just so inventive of a movie. It's weird with that franchise. I saw Army of Darkness first, and I did not know it was a sequel. I thought it was just a standalone movie. And then it was years later, I read a Fangoria magazine, and it's like, oh, well, for Evil Dead 1 and 2, I'm like, that guy looks familiar.
Mhm. I mean, if you look at it, it really is kind of a standalone sequel. Like Army of Darkness is really almost in another world than
Yeah,
Evil
it
Dead
really
1 and
is.
2.
Yeah.
And then I saw him backwards. Like, I totally found Evil Dead 2, and then I found Evil Dead 1, so I saw it backwards. But love all three. But Evil Dead 2, like I said, I love just how creative it is. And you don't find a lot of those type of movies nowadays, sadly. But
Mm-hmm.
I was always impressed by that one. Number 2, I put The Running Man. I love The Running Man. I love Richard Dawson in that. He's such a
Yeah.
great heel. I love the one-liners. You know, hey, Christmas tree, follow me, light bulb.
Yeah.
Go jam it to your stomach until I break your goddamn spine. About the light, just everything about that. Here's Sub-Zero, now playing Zero.
Pretty much everything that's said in that movie is great. Yeah. Hey, Killian.
And I love the idea of taking the game show, the kind of a horror element, throwing the action, and then the villains are very inspired by WWF. Like they're larger than life caricatures with their costumes, their gimmicks. So it's kind of like a live action video game, but it's also like WWF again with the how colorful it was. The synthesizer score by Harold, I think it's Harold Faltermeyer. Uh, I just love that movie so much. It's very underrated. It didn't do well when it came out.
Arnold hates it too, which is weird.
Yeah, he said it looks like a TV show, and I'm like, it's supposed to be a TV show, like
Yeah.
a game show. But
I always love the score to that movie too. That's a really underrated score. Like that
yes,
do 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 and all that shit all the way throughout it, which is amazing.
yeah, I can't say enough about The Running Man. Love it. A lot of films that try to be similar, like Stone Cold Steve Austin's The Condemned, and just none of them really come close for me to The Running Man. And number 1, it's Predator. It's gotta be, for me, Predator.
I mean, yeah.
That's my number 1.
That's also my number 1. I'm not gonna fuck around. Like it is what it is, man. Like that. I don't think there's another movie I saw more as a kid. And possibly not another movie I've seen more just in general than Predator. So
I agree. I had the VHS tape and I watched it so many times that literally the cover would become more and more white because it was fading and fading more. I even remember the trailers. It was a teaser for Revenge of the Nerds 2, Nerds in Paradise, where they mimicked Poltergeist 2's trailer. And the pickup artists with Robert Downey Jr. and Molly Ringwald.
Jesus. Yeah, that's a deep cut too.
So I love Predator. What more can be said? I mean, it's action and horror blended. It's a wonderful creature by Stan Winston. John McTiernan, who will of course go on to do Die Hard among other films. Great cast. Carl Weathers, may he rest in peace. Bill Duke, Sonny Landham, of course, among others. It's a slow burn, but it works so well. I love where they shot it, like a real jungle. That it's outside, but feels claustrophobic as well. Again, it's intense action. You do have your violence and gore as well. Kind of all you want in an action horror film, and it was Arnold doing something different, which I love when action stars do that. And great ensemble piece. Predator is just an absolute classic to me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everybody in that movie does a great job. You talk about a great ensemble cast. Like, I mean, Bill Duke, Sonny Landham, Shane Black. I mean,
the lines alone. I mean, I ain't got time to bleed. And,
yeah.
I mean, it's just great. Again,
If
it's my number
if
1.
it bleeds, we can kill it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you could go on and on and on. Like, it's just every line, really.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Mark?
I'll start out with some honorable mentions. Creepshow 2. I mean, talk about a fun sequel. I know everybody loves the Wrath segment, which I do as well, but I like the whole thing. I mean, there obviously there's some segments that are better than others, but I mean, just as a complete package, Creepshow 2 just does it for me. It's one of my favorite anthology movies.
Yeah, I always thought that the Hitchhiker one was underrated because the guy just it's
Yeah.
so fucking hilarious because he's just like, "Hey, lady, thanks for the ride." He's just like following her around like everywhere. That's such a great.
I even like the first one. I mean, I know it's a
Yeah.
wooden Indian thing, whatever, but it's still, I mean,
This
those
hair,
guys are
this hair's going to be paid and laid.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Those guys are a bunch of fucking shitheads. So
That-
we want to see them get, killed. So it's great. What else? The Hidden. Gotta have that. I mean,
Yeah.
probably Jack Shoulder's masterpiece.
Probably one of the most underrated films of the 80s, in my opinion.
Easily.
Great.
Killer music.
Still not out on
shootouts.
anything worth a shit either. Like, still
I
doesn't
got
have
that basic Blu-ray from I think it's Warner Archive back there on the shelf.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
come on, like this thing deserves like a huge like set or something. Like give it its just due.
Yeah.
And last honorable mention, I was gonna say Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, which I love, but I'm gonna swap that out for The Stepfather, which I actually just got the 4K
Mhm.
of. I mean, rewatching this a couple days ago, Terry O'Quinn, holy shit, that performance is just it's off the chart. I wish he would get more involved, like when they do stuff like this, but
He's got
I
that
guess-
lost money, Mark. You don't have to do anything.
Come
He's just
on.
like- he's just gonna ride it out. I think.
I guess so, man. Like, there's a bunch of people on the special features, but he's not one of them, and I don't think he's ever going to come around. So that really sucks. So my number 5 is Near Dark. Tangerine Dream. Holy shit, amazing stuff right there. I mean, I love the music in that. Adrian Pasdar is, Adrian Pasdar. Not necessarily the best of the lead, but I mean, the ensemble cast of all the vampires is what makes it work. I mean, you pretty much have an Aliens reunion right there.
Yeah.
With all those actors.
Yep.
Lance Henriksen's the man. We all know this. Bill Paxton is perfect in pretty much any role. He just brings a certain energy and charm to almost any character he does. A lot of really cool scenes, cool makeup effects. I'm a big Catherine Bigelow fan. That might be my favorite. It's either that or Strange Days from her. So yeah, that's Near Dark. That was number 5. Number 4, Lost Boys. I mean, quintessential 80s vampire movie. It's one of the 3 holy trinity of vampire movies from the 80s.
I swear to God, if Vamp is the third one or something, I'll cue it.
No. I already said the other one in the last show. That was Fright Night.
I know Fright Night. What's the third one then? If Lost
Near,
Boys,
Near
Fright Night,
Dark, and Lost Boys.
Near Dark.
Those are my 3.
All right. I was gonna say
Hands
Vamp. Fucking trifecta on that one.
Definitely not. But yeah, I mean, the characters are so fun and so likable, and you want to spend as much time with them as possible on either side. It's rare where you have antagonists that are just as entertaining as the protagonists. So you group them all together. It's just a fun ride. Some great effects. That's another movie, Warner Brothers. Hopefully they've got the extra scenes too, and maybe we get one day. But again, like you said, Matt, I can't hold my breath on that. They seem to really not give a fuck about like restoring movies or doing uncut versions or anything. They're the one studio that definitely does not ever do that. But yeah, and then I think I mentioned music already. The soundtrack. I mean,
It's possibly got one of the best soundtracks, if not the best soundtrack of any horror film.
now maybe a year or two ago, me and you be like we had this discussion. So
yeah,
Fright Night soundtrack or Lost Boys? I think back then you said Fright Night.
Dude, I couldn't tell you really. I mean, like if
Yeah.
you put a gun to my head and we're like, you know, I don't know. Like they're both insanely good. And like
Mhm.
almost every song on both of those soundtracks is good. Like,
Yeah.
so I don't know how to pick that because it's like you got, Lost in the Shadows,
Oh yeah,
I
so
Still
good.
Believe, all those songs on the Lost Boy soundtrack. And then on Fright Night, you've got the fucking Fright Night theme song, Jay Giles
Mhm.
band and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You've
You
got
can't
like,
run. You
yeah,
can't hide.
So good.
you've everything, like all those
Right, yeah.
songs.
Hell yeah. Um,
Yeah, all the songs in Vamp, right, Mark?
okay.
Just vampy. I don't remember a
I
single
don't know.
song in Vamp.
I don't either.
Whatever Grace Jones was dancing to, I don't know.
Next is Evil Dead 2. I think for the last stream we did, I put Evil Dead 1 on there, but I got to put Evil Dead 2 on there. Much like you, Matt, I saw Evil Dead 2 first, but I think I saw Evil Dead 1 after that, and then I saw Army of Darkness. And it was one of those things where you're rummaging through like your video store, and then I see the cover, and I'm like, that looks familiar. So I was so young at the time, and you do chores or whatever the hell you do and earn enough money, and the main thing I always spent my money on was VHS tapes. So we go to the mall or whatever, I'm in the store browsing for movies, I come across that, and I'm like, holy shit, I had no idea there was a part 3. So it's not Army of Darkness isn't one of my favorites of the series, but Evil Dead 1 and 2 are easily, hands down,
I
amazing.
agree.
Love them both. Stellar cast. Yeah, I mean, I could go on and on about that.
Bobby Joe.
Yeah.
Bobby Joe.
Bobby Joe, yeah, that guy.
Who is also in Intruder as well.
Yes,
Oh,
Dan Hicks, I believe.
Yeah, Danny
someone's in my fruit salad. Someone with a fresh soul.
Got to give it up to Ted Raimi for playing Henrietta. I
Yep.
mean, that's just killer. Number 2, RoboCop, which you mentioned as well. I mean, watching the making of that movie, seeing all the stuff that they went through, how they came up with sound effects, just how the script came together. There's so much that could have gone wrong with that movie, but every single thing in it works. I don't think that you could ever successfully remake that one. That one was truly lightning in a bottle. You talked about Kurtwood Smith. I mean,
They tried.
Jesus. Oh yeah, well they did, but I mean that movie doesn't fucking exist. Let's be honest.
It really doesn't. Like I forget about it all the time, and
Yeah, it just
people bring it up, and I'm like, I've never seen it. I don't know.
exactly. Yeah, I mean, hell, Kurtwood Smith though. I mean, what an amazing heel.
Guns, guns, guns.
Yeah. What did he say about I'll shove the factory so far up your ass you'll shit snow for a year or something? So it's just tons and tons of great dialogue. Oh yeah, I can't forget to mention Miguel Ferrer, who's
He's great in that. Yeah.
yeah. Just so many great lines from him. But yeah, number 1 though, so I don't want to take up too much time, is Predator. You mentioned everything already. I mean, hell of a fucking cast. It's just it's pure 80s action, sci-fi epicness all the way around. We already talked about dialogue. I don't know. Did you mention the music, Matt? Which is
No, I mean it's great. Alan Silvestri did a
Perfect.
wonderful job. But
exactly.
Yeah.
It flows so well. It's got a great pace, great everything.
could you imagine if they went with the original design of the Predator, the Bud Light?
It was horrible. I'm so glad that they did not go with that. It's
with
just
Jean-Claude Van
it's
Damme in
fucking
the suit.
terrible. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, they got the best of the best himself, rest in peace, Mr. Winston, to come in and worked his magic. And now it's a part of pop culture. I mean, you see that creature, somebody hasn't seen Predator, they know what it is, you know? So those are the things that I think when you have something like that, that's how you know it works. It's just one of those things that's just going to be around forever. Unfortunately, I don't think they should keep making Predator movies because they're not doing a good job. But
No, I think
it's got its legacy cemented just with the first movie, even though I love part 2 as well. So that's my list.
Awesome. Okay, a couple for 87, a couple of honorable mentions that haven't been mentioned yet, because I had like The Stepfather on there as one of my honorable mentions. So I will say Summer School. Love that movie with Mark Harmon. Like, it's weird because it's one of the first like gateway films where it's like it's a comedy, but it's got like the 2 horror characters. So it kind of got you like interested in horror, and they're reading Fangoria and they're setting up all these gore effects and stuff. And like throughout the movie, I always thought that was a cool like aspect of that movie as well. Bull's Hellraiser also came out in 87. So it's like
I forgot. How could I forget about Hellraiser? I got the damn pinhead on my wall.
So I mean, I had to at least give that an honorable mention. I might even include it in my top 5, but I just didn't. And The Princess Bride, which say whatever you want to. I mean, but I've watched that film a million times when I was a kid, and like that's a classic.
I love it. Yeah, classic.
Also, one more honorable mention, just because it's fucking hilarious. Throw Mama from the Train came out in 87. Aaron! Fucking Anne Ramsey. I can never get enough of that woman and that voice. Where he has like Danny DeVito, or she has Danny DeVito like clean her ears out, and he has the like fantasy that he's jamming the thing into her ear. Anyway, my number 5 is The Hidden. That's actually how much I like that movie.
Okay.
Mark already brought it up. Mark already mentioned it, but like, it's one of the greatest combinations of buddy cop, sci-fi action films with a great premise where this thing keeps jumping in between people, and it's literally the hidden. Like, you don't know that it's there. It just like inhabits somebody else's body. And the woman that it inhabits, I forget her name. She's great in it though. She's like
Claudia Trishan.
I think that's it. Yeah. And that whole time span where she is like the hidden is amazing. Like, I love that whole part of the movie. And the chase scenes in it are great. The car chase scenes in it are great. The action scenes in it are great. Like, there's really nothing I don't like about that movie. I do not understand why that movie is not like more talked about, more referenced with people. Like, McLaughlin's great. I don't know what there is not to like about that.
Did you ever see the sequel?
I've got it. I've got the DVD that has like the 2 the hidden to it, but I've never watched the sequel for some reason. Is it great?
No, it's fucking terrible. The sequel is so awful. Isn't it like a dog eats a piece of the alien, or
from the
like that?
That sounds wonderful.
They were kind of the end of the first one, and then they show like the first 10 minutes. The first 10 minutes, like the last 10 minutes of the first film, and then the character at the end that's in the body, because he jumped. Oh, he just wore down and died, and now it's like another alien cop. So it was pointless. The ending. It's one of those sequels.
Yeah, I like it when they take the Silent Night, Deadly Night 2 approach, where they just like take parts of a movie and put it into that movie and call it a day. So yeah, if anybody here hasn't seen The Hidden, it's hard to find like now. I think that Warner Archive is that out of print now? The Blu-ray
might be. I'm not even sure.
I know for a long time that DVD was hard to come by too until they released that, but I don't know if it's out of print. But if you haven't seen it, definitely watch it. My number 4 is Full Metal Jacket. Pretty much that is one of the best films I've ever seen for the first half, and then the second half is just, to me, just okay. But the basic training sequence in that, possibly one of the greatest sequences ever committed to film. The fact that Arlie Ermy comes out there and there's one take, by the way, where he walks through and insults and everybody, like, but like at least a couple people in one take where he's just saying things like rapid fire kind of stuff to him. And every line that he says, like, I can almost still remember it. It's all like quotable stuff that I still say to people to this day. Like, did your mother have any children that lived? I bet she's sorry about that. And then there's like, there's a lot of stuff that I can't say that was like, but like, I will say this though, man, like, that is a gift to be able to like insult people that well, that quickly. Like, that's something that, like, and everybody knows now that he wasn't the original guy that was picked for that role, but like, he was the only guy that could have done that role. And so really I'm including this as a number 4 based on one half of this movie. I don't like the second half of the movie where they actually go to war and all that shit. I don't think it's a great movie from that point on, but I think the first half of the movie might be one of the best halves of anything I've ever seen. All the way up, with the private pile stuff. I thought, D'Onofrio was fucking amazing in that role. Just the dynamic between the two of them, how he kind of slowly drives him insane through all that, and he's just completely like unrelenting about the way that he wants to kind of turn them into killers. Yeah, I just there's something about that whole first sequence that I love. So Full Metal Jacket's 4, Evil Dead 2 is 3. I don't think there's a more influential movie on modern horror films than Evil Dead 2. It's possible that, like, when I say modern horror films, I say like, post when that movie came out. So the 90s, things like that, like the camera work, the gore, the slapstick kind of humor, everything about that movie. It was just Evil Dead with like a budget. I mean, it's just the same, the same type of thing. Like, they just redid the movie with a budget, and a couple of different movies have done something similar to that. But like, it's amazing, and like it takes everything from the first film and amps it up. And I think we talked about this too, Mark. Like, before, like, I would have said before, like, Evil Dead 2 was my favorite. I think Evil Dead is now, but more because of like I said, you see people coming together and learn how to make a movie. But in Evil Dead 2, like, he's got a really good idea of how to make a movie, and like everything is kind of perfected. The comedy is perfected, the gore is perfected, camera work, everything he's doing is like at an expert level. I don't know that he got any better than that, really, at like doing that particular thing. Or really, I don't know if he got any better than that, period. But I mean, that's up for, I'm sure, debate for people. But yeah, Evil Dead 2 would be my number 3. My number 2 is RoboCop. I think that much about that film that I would put it at number 2. For everything you all said, it's a weird film though, if you think about it. Like, it doesn't look like any other film. I guess that's like Verhoeven, but it doesn't. When you watch RoboCop, it doesn't look like Predator, and it doesn't look like Lethal Weapon, and it doesn't look like anything that came out around that time. It looks like urban, but also futuristic, and also exploitative, like a combination of all those things. It looks gritty, but also like in the future. It's a weird thing to kind of like capture like what that is. And I don't know many films that ever captured that style the way that did too. And the fucking gunshot, man, that is one thing about him too. The gore and stuff in it is almost like a horror film. Like when people get shot, like,
yeah, I always call Verhoeven the Squib King. I mean, every movie it's just wall to wall splatter with the gunshots. I love it though.
And when you watch the shit he wanted to do, it's like even worse with like the bullet hole in the head and like seeing through it and shit. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But at the heart of that movie is a crazy story about like humanity and things like that as well. So it's got a good like underlying kind of thing that's holding it, like a tone that's holding the whole movie together. The one thing I don't like about that movie, if I'm being honest though, is and I've never understood it that much either, is why did they make the partner what's her name? Alan uh
Nancy Allen.
Nancy Allen. Why they make her like so completely useless? Like she really does nothing in that movie. Like she, you know, she gets knocked out. She's not around. Like he gets killed. Nobody ever really mentions it. If I was RoboCop, I would be like, look, you know, some fucking help would have been nice. Like before I got my ass shot off. And then like towards the end, she gets fucked up and she's laying around and like it's
Too busy blowing bubble gum.
Yeah.
I've never really liked that part of that movie. She's just such a worthless character in my opinion. Like I think she's just there to be like Murphy, like you're human, your humanity, or you know what I mean, to call that out or something.
Mhm.
But she really doesn't do anything.
She does a tad bit more in 2. But
She does a
yeah.
bit at the end. She blew that guy up that had the
Yeah.
scaffold with the big gun and stuff. I get what you mean though. I get what you mean. I didn't. She blowing bubble gum is what she had to do.
She rescues Murphy and brings him baby food.
Yeah.
Yeah, she does. You're right, Alva. I should have pointed that out.
That was another weird thing, being fed baby food.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, and my number one is Predator. Everybody already knows that. Listen, the thing about Predator that's funny is pick any character in that movie, any of them, and you could quote something from them.
Mhm.
So, like Shane Black's got all the jokes, you know. As my girlfriend said, Gee, you got a big pussy. Gee, you got a big pussy. I said, why'd you say it twice? I didn't. He's got all that stuff. Jesse Ventura's got the, you know, got Time to Bleed. Sonny Landham, basically, like everything he says is amazing, but his laugh is like you know, throughout the
Right.
entire film. Bill Duke, something over there. Them trees. When he's laying like
Over here, turn around,
Yeah.
turn around.
yeah, exactly. And then, of course, like Schwarzenegger, it's basically like anything. Jim Hopper was not killed. Jim Hopper was skinned alive.
Dylan, you son of a
Son of a
bitch.
bitch. Yeah. So, any of that, plus the soundtrack, like you were saying, is fucking. I can sit here and like hear it in my head, da-da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da, and you hear all that other stuff. Like it all comes in and like coincides, like side to side stereo, like you know, all the different
Mhm.
parts kind of come together. So yeah,
Bullshit,
Predator's-
Olivier. The Cabin the Beast is can't do your dirty work.
yeah, everything,
I mean
man.
that end fight between Arnold
Yep.
and Predator, it's just
Kill me,
amazing.
I'm here. Kill me.
Kill me, I'm here. Do
Yeah.
it now.
No.
Kill me. I'm
Come
here.
on, do it now.
Kill it. Oh, Predator. Yeah. So that is 87 bulls.
Cool.
Let's see what some people got for 87 here. Because we got to get on to 88. We're fucking gonna come up on 3 hours on this shit if we don't hurry up. Let's see. 87. Yeah, I didn't think about some of these. It says my honorable mentions: Lethal Weapon, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Dragnet, and The Princess Bride. Dragnet's great.
Yep.
Full Metal Jacket's number one for Dr. Giggles, Princess Bride, Raising Arizona. How the fuck did I not think of Raising Arizona too? It's just to put in honorable mention at least.
Yeah.
Hellraiser, RoboCop. Yep. The Untouchables, RoboCop, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Lethal Weapon, The Princess Bride. Yeah. The Untouchables is great. I just never like Kevin Costner that much. I just cannot fucking get into Kevin Costner. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Nightmare 3.
Dream
Why did
Warriors,
we
yeah.
why did we not mention Nightmare 3? That's like a friggin' classic.
I thought about that one. I almost wanted to put it on there, but I was like, no, I can't.
I'm kind of burnt out on that movie at this point in my life, but like I
Mhm.
cannot deny that that's like a classic nightmare film. Maybe
Yeah.
the definitive like sequel
Mm-hmm.
of those movies. Lost Boys, Lethal Weapon, RoboCop, Untouchables, Over the Top. Hell, he went over the top straight up.
That's right. All right.
Good list.
Near Dark, Angel Heart, De Niro, Predator, Evil Dead 2, The Running Man. Honorable mentions to China Girl and Extreme Prejudice with Nolte. That's a good call out.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's just so much. I mean, 87 was just killer. There's all the Italian stuff too.
Yeah, I don't even look at the like international stuff, by the way. I just mostly look at like the American stuff.
Same.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3, honorable mentions, Dream Warriors 5, Angel Heart, Can't Buy Me Love. That's a great movie that I always
Mhm.
forget about. Yeah.
Love
Patrick
that one.
Dempsey. Creep Show, Full Metal Jacket, and The Untouchables.
Nice.
RoboCop, Predator, Over the Top, Masters of the Universe, and Friday Part 7. That little fucking thing that little Hobbit guy plays in Masters. What the fuck is that? That little guitar looking thing?
Grill
Yep.
door or whatever.
Yeah. The Gate, Blind Date. I love Blind Date. That is
Yeah.
yeah. It's one I completely forgot about. Dolls, Lost Boys, Nightmare on Elm Street 3, La Bamba, Curse, Cannibal Hookers, yeah.
Of course.
Alpha Says, Lost Boys, Evil Dead, RoboCop 2, Full Metal Jacket, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Nice.
Great list.
Hell yeah.
Great list.
Predator, Creep Show 2, Dream Warriors, Lost Boys, Dolls. That's one that didn't get mentioned, but Dolls is a great film.
Mhm.
Mentions Blind Date, Full Metal Jacket. Okay.
Monster
So
Squad.
Monster.
Just so many.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, mostly gentlemen. 88, which this is where it gets real fucking like tough. To me, 88 was like a nightmare trying to pick these films.
I agree.
Mhm.
It's one quick note with 87. Like you look at that year alone and you see just how many original films were created that became franchises. Predator, RoboCop, Lethal Weapon. Then you just compare that to now and it's just night and day. It's just sad. You wonder why I'm so pissed lately about movies today. Because I'm like, this is what they did back then. But anyway. 1988, 3 honorable mentions. Number 1, Young Guns. My favorite Western. We're in the spirit world, asshole. They can't see us.
Ah, you guys, did you see the size of that chicken?
Yeah, Dermot Mulroney. Emilio Estevez, Lou Diamond Phillips, Kiefer Sutherland. You got Terrence Stamp. You got Jack Palance. Such a great cast. And yeah, that was probably the first Western. Yeah, it was the first Western I ever saw when I was a kid. Stuck with me. Love the chemistry the characters had with each other. Love the music, the score. Love the whole vibe of it. Always been a big fan of Young Guns. Other honorable mentions: Who Framed Roger Rabbit, classic.
Yeah.
Bob Hoskins, may he rest in peace, did wonders. Very tough to act with something that's not there, but he did it tremendously. And just Robert Zemeckis did a wonderful job of cartoon and live action melded together. Very unique idea. And Christopher Lloyd, just how insane he is. Just how horrible he is of a character. Just takes that cute little shoe and just melts it in this kid's film. And then also Above the Law. As much as I crap on Steven Seagal,
you know what scene I think about whenever I fucking hear that movie too?
Go ahead.
Isn't that the one where he's like, anybody seen Bobby?
Oh, that's Out for
Richie.
Justice.
Anybody seen Richie? Okay, that's Out for Justice. Okay. Then I
Hey, boy,
know
Richie de Bobby Lupo.
Richie.
Yeah, Above the Law, Seagal's
Okay,
first
so it's-
film. That was an honorable mention.
Which one is Above the Law then? Because they're all basically like I all get them all mixed up.
That's the one where he's like a cop in Chicago, right?
You have to be more specific.
Yeah,
Well,
he's a cop.
That's the one where Henry Silva is the villain. At the end, he takes his arm and like breaks it in half, and he's
Mhm.
I think Sharon Stone plays his wife,
Oh, okay.
and
Isn't Pam Grier in that?
yeah, as his partner.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So I'm thinking of the right one. Yeah.
Same guy directed that, did Code of Silence with Chuck Norris, and then Under Siege with Steven Seagal, and then The
Mhm.
Fugitive, same director.
Mm-hmm.
But number 5, and like I said, this was a tough list. Number 5, A Nightmare on Elm Street 4, The Dream Master.
Wait, Matt, hold on. Why didn't you? You didn't say Flesh Eater as an honorable mention. What's going on here?
You know,
Sorry, I
yeah,
just had to fuck with you. Go ahead.
it sucked on my flesh beneath my pants.
Eat your flesh.
Right up beneath my pants.
Fuck.
But number 5, Elm Street 4. It's my favorite of the franchise. It's one of my personal favorite slasher films. I could really relate to the lead character, Lisa Wilcox, plays as Alice. I was a daydreamer as well in school. I was very a shy person in school. So how she acted was like how I acted in that time period of school. Or at least by the time I saw it on VHS. And so to see a character kind of live vicariously through her, where she gets out of her shell, gets very empowered, and I love like from the In the Mirror, the great musical score, which when I used to have an intro on my channel, I would take that music and use it. So pretty much a big part of my channel from back in the day. I love the creative kills. The cockroach sequence especially is my favorite kill of the entire franchise. My Screaming Mad George effects are insane. I love Robert Englund's performance. I love it's more MTV Freddy, but I still love the style. Rennie Harlan brought a great energy to it. And while they had a very quick turnaround with the script, so there are flaws in it, of course. I love, they said, the creativity, the kills, even the bits without gore, where Freddy puts him in this repeated circular pattern while he goes and kills someone. I thought, hey, that was creative. I haven't seen that done a whole lot of times before. So the other parts of the soundtrack, love Elm Street 4, The Dream Master. Like I said, my favorite of the franchise. I can always watch it anytime and not get tired of it. Number 4, Bloodsport. Had to put on there. I'm a big Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. He had done films before, but that definitely brought him to the stratosphere in terms of stardom. I liked Enter the Dragon, but Bloodsport's my favorite martial arts tournament movie. Bolo Yun as Chun Li, the villain.
Mm-hmm.
You break my record, I break you. Like I break your friend.
It's my number 3. So
I love the guy who plays his buddy. I love Donald Gibb, who was in Revenge of the Nerds.
Go Frankie.
Go Frankie. Just a lot of fun, great martial arts sequences. Crazy that Canon Films didn't want to make it, and then they said it was so horrible they weren't going to release it. Van Damme and Sheldon Ledger re-edited it, came out, and became such a huge hit. So Bloodsport for me is a classic. Number 3, and I wanted to put this higher, but these other two are, I love this film to death, but the other two just have more personal, that's with every list. Die Hard. I love Die Hard.
Yep.
Such a fantastic action movie. What hasn't been said about Die Hard? Bruce Willis, he had done a TV show, but that really made him a star. Just Alan Rickman as the villain. Iconic lines like the Yippee-Ki-Yay line.
mm-hmm.
John McTiernan, what a wonderful 1-2 punch with Predator and Die Hard back-to-back years. One of the quintessential action films of all time. And you mentioned how like Evil Dead 2 inspired so much. Die Hard inspired a tremendous amount of action films, not just
Oh,
films that
yeah.
ripped it off, but the hero and the way he acted and the way he reacted to situations. Maybe the most influential action film of all time, you could argue. I mean, I'm trying to think of another action film that inspired more than Die Hard did.
I would say that it definitely is. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's in the top couple of like influential action films, especially
Yeah.
the modern age action films. Yeah.
Yeah, because after that, you had so many movies where, I mean, the plot was so similar where everybody called it, it's Die Hard on a plane if you're looking at Passenger 57, or
Yeah.
Die Hard on a train if it's Under Siege 2 or whatever, So it's very influential, yeah.
I mean, it's hard to even. Everyone's taught about Die Hard. What more can be said? Just a fantastic movie. Number 2, The Blob remake. One of my favorite monster movies of all time. Put it up there with The Thing as like how much I love it, how much I can rewatch it. I love Kevin Dillon and Shawnee Smith. I love the effects in that. The gore I think is insane.
Mm-hmm.
I think the script by Frank Darabont worked on the script. I think it's head and shoulders above what a typical monster movie would do. Even from the slasher film within the film, the Garden Tomb Massacre. I love that bit.
Yeah.
Kevin Dillon was likable. Shawnee Smith was a good, strong character. Cheerleader that knew how to shoot a gun. I'm down for that. And I know people always think of her for the Saw films. I will always think of her for this film.
Well, it's weird because she was so much better to me, like in this film and like Summer School, and like she was
Mhm.
so much more of a natural actress around that time, than she was in those Saw movies. Like I never did really like her that much in those.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And just such a fun, energetic movie with a good sense of humor. Find something not new every time, but it's like, oh yeah, Bill Moseley is in that. It's like I forget he's
Mhm.
one of the soldiers, and yeah, love The Blob. And number 1, my name kind of gives it away. Rambo 3. uh, that to me, like I grew up with that film. Like Rambo 2 and 3 are some of those films I just watched consistently as a kid. Those were my comic book films as a kid. It's over the top, it's unrealistic, but man, like when I watch it today, I'm just so impressed with what they accomplished on film. With you get that finale, and there's all these real tanks, all these real helicopters, all these real explosions. Stallone on a horse with a Molotov cocktail, a real helicopter right behind him that almost hits him. And it's like, this will never happen again. They do not and will not ever make movies like this ever. And it's bigger, it's more insane with the action set pieces. And I loved Richard Crenna. I loved him being more part of the story. The villain's not as good as the first two, I will admit, but just for what I want in an action film, I love the hero, I love the set pieces, I love the C4 arrows, blown up helicopters with C4 explosive arrows. That's kind of my time of escapism. That's just a lot of fun, and I never understood it. Is it a perfect film? No, of course not. I never understood why it was so hated. I never thought it was that bad at all, especially when you compare it to films nowadays. But even back then, I'm like, I never understood the hate it got. I think it really delivers in what you want in a big escapism action film, at least to me. So Rambo 3, I think, is an underrated one, and this is my number 1 on the list on 1988, for me at least.
It's a great list. It's good stuff.
All right, Mark, what do you got?
Okay. So this one was really tough because, again, so many amazing movies. It's really, really hard to do. But honorable mentions, I'll just start with those. Waxwork. It's such an underrated movie still. I don't know. Do you guys know why that is? I mean, I hardly ever see people talk about Waxwork, even in the horror community.
I don't know why though, man. I think it has something to do with the fact that none of the cast is really known. Like It
Yeah.
doesn't have anybody in it that anybody points to. I mean, Zach Galligan, but nobody really gives a shit about Zach Galligan, for being honest. Like, it just doesn't have anybody in it that's not. That's the only thing I can think of. Because other than that, like, and it's got a really quirky tone and like a sense of humor to it that a lot of people probably don't like in horror films. But
I could see that. But yeah, I mean, some great music, really, really fun set pieces. David Warner is great. Yeah, Waxwork is excellent and deserves to be mentioned and brought up a lot more. Let me see. You mentioned the Blob. Hold on one second. Can you guys still hear me? Because I can't hear you guys.
I
Yeah.
hear it.
Okay, good. So yeah, you mentioned the Blob. The first time I ever saw Shawnee Smith was in the Blob, and that's Shawnee Smith for me. I mean, you guys mentioned the Saw movies and stuff. While those are what they are, that's where I caught her first, and it's still one of my favorites. I could watch it anytime. Great effects, as you already mentioned, Matt. Really fun. Last honorable mention, and this one almost made my top 5. They Live. Amazing subliminal messages in that. The subtext, Keith David, Piper, the fight scenes, the whole thing. I like the ending, but it is a tiny bit anticlimactic. I wish they went just a little bit further with it, but I still love it. It's a great movie though overall. So finally, my number 5 would be Night of the Demons. That is, I mean, it. Other than like Evil Dead for the '80s and the Demons movies, this is right there with those, in my opinion. I mean, the possession angles with all the characters, so many fun moments, great music. Love the effects on the demons. That's one of my favorite things too that I don't ever really see on demons of today in any movies that have to deal with possession. You just don't see that anymore. I don't know why that is, but I love the '80s design of demons pretty much in any movie for the most part.
And I love the character, was it Roger? The one who's like, you ain't gonna get me. The smartest guy in horror film history, and he's the black guy, and he lived because he's actually smart. He's like, fuck this, you dead. I'm getting out of here.
It also has possibly the best line in any horror film. Eat a bowl of fuck. I'm here to party.
That is great. Yeah, it's fantastic. And I mean, it's perfect for Halloween time. I mean, it is the Halloween movie. It's one of those ones you got to watch at least once. I can understand if you've been like burnt out on it, but it still holds up. It's always great. Of course, Linnea Quigley. I mean, we all know that scene. I don't need to talk about it. So number 4, I have Child's Play, the quintessential killer doll movie. I'm definitely not into what they've been doing in the last, I'll even say 20 years with the franchise. I could care less about anything Don Mancini's involved with when it comes to this franchise, but I love Brad Dourif. I'm glad he at least is getting a steady paycheck from it. So that's
but not anymore. They canceled the show now.
Oh, well, there you go.
Thankfully.
They did. Yeah, they did.
It wasn't good. So, I mean, you know, but still, yeah, that first one, it's Tom Holland's other masterpiece, obviously Fright Night being the top one. But I mean, hell, without that movie being what they put into it, without any of that stuff that they put into it, that movie does not work. I mean, we've talked about it, Don Mancini's original script before. It was average at best. Those guys elevated it to a whole nother level. All the camera tricks they used, the first person view of the doll, using a little person in the costume. Even I think people could say that looks cheesy. I don't give a fuck. I think that looks great. it's creepier, I think, in a way. But yeah, so Child's Play, Bloodsport is number 3. You mentioned that one, Matt. Just, I'll have to go out on a limb and say it's probably my favorite fighting tournament movie as well. It's just, I think we're all 3 of us are Van Damme marks. Is that safe to say?
That's safe to say.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So that one's always going to be at least in my top 5 Van Damme movies. Which at some point we should probably do a whole thing on
Van Damme retrospective.
Yeah. That would be great. But yeah, I mean, the lines, the characters. Oh God, I love Bloodsport. I mean, I think we did that commentary on it. So many great things about that one. Can't get enough of Bloodsport. You said all the best stuff though, Matt. I'm going to keep going because I don't want to go too long. Coming to America is actually my number 2.
Yep.
So this one was actually on when I woke up this morning. I fell asleep with the TV on. I turned it on and it's on his band, Eddie Murphy's band, Sexual Chocolate. I woke up to them singing and I'm like, what the hell?
Fucking killer.
It is. It's so good. I mean, it's without those guys in that, like, I don't know how the hell that movie works.
That boy good.
Yeah.
Good and terrible.
Yeah, good and terrible. I mean, it's so many comedies that like have come out over the years, especially even in the 80s. A lot of them the jokes can run a little thin. I think with that one for me, every joke still hits me the same as, when I first saw it. Like, it's that funny to me. It's probably my favorite Eddie Murphy comedy. So it's really high up there for me. Great makeup effects work also on those guys. Those characters, every character is memorable, and mostly for the lines of dialogue and just the performances, even though you may not remember everybody's name, just the guys in the barbershop, the band. Arsenio is like the Reverend. It's just funny shit all around.
You might recognize it from the What's Going Down episode of That's My Mama.
So, I mean, like, and I think CK always talks about not having 4Ks for comedies. That's one. Yeah. As much as I love it, I looked. I didn't ever have it on DVD or Blu-ray. So when that 4K came out, I grabbed it right up. So I'm glad I waited. I got one of the best versions out. And then number 1 is Die Hard, which, I mean, McTiernan's like just epic action saga. I mean, that movie actually wasn't supposed to be what it was either. It's funny, like when you look at the original like source material, which was, I think it was a book, it's not exactly the same. So what it morphed into is excellent. And it still works with, I mean, I think the best part about it is like having like the everyman type of guy. That's what Bruce Willis was. And, if you put Arnold in it, it still might be entertaining, but like it works so well with just the everyman guy. That's what makes all those sequences where he's in the elevator shaft, fighting with the terrorists, all that stuff. I mean, it is a real struggle for his character, especially because that's the first one. He's not the John McClane as we know today.
Yeah.
So yeah, what else can be said about Die Hard, as you said, Matt? That's my number 1 though, and that's my list.
Yeah, I think we all have Die Hard on our list in one way or another. Yeah.
You gotta have it on there.
Let's see. So honorable mentions, I will go ahead and honorably mention Willow, which I loved as a kid.
Wow. Okay.
Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer.
See the TV show.
No, I don't want to see the TV show. Like, I'd rather just fucking just remember it like I have it in my head. Another honorable mention to Waxwork as well. I think it's like, again, one of the most underrated horror films ever made, especially in the 80s.
It is.
The Naked Gun, honorable mention to that. Possibly one of the best comedies like to come out of the 80s. Along with Airplane, all those movies like that with Leslie Nielsen, like, are insane. And fucking Lloyd Bridges when he does like Hot Shots. I think that came out in 89, didn't it? Or maybe it was 90. It's around that time period Hot Shots came out. But anyway, all those Zucker kind of movies. So yeah. Also give honorable mention too to Scrooged as like a holiday film that
Yeah.
Forgot about that.
yeah. That I think might be one of the best holiday films to come out of the 80s as well.
Indeed.
So yeah, I start with my number 5, I guess, which is Coming to America. Man, like I don't know, like me and my cousins used to quote that film like back and forth to each other, like almost the entire film, like the barbershop scenes and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Joe Louis is 137 years old when he fought. Man, you ain't never met no Frank Sinatra. Just everything in that movie. Like we just quoted it like back and forth to each other. Cause it's just one of the funniest like movies, and him playing all those different parts and Arsenio playing all the different parts, and then both like being pretty much like in tune with like what sense of humor like they had, and like it just everything in that movie works. It's just a great comedy. Landis, all those Landis movies with Eddie Murphy work except for Beverly Hills Cop 3, with the exception of that maybe. Yeah, but yeah, I won't stay on that one too long because like you guys have already talked about it. My number 4 is Young Guns. That's a movie that I grew up with, and I think it has a great, it's like MTV Western is what it is. It's got a great cast. Like if you think about that cast now, it's still kind of crazy. You had Charlie Sheen, Emilio Estevez, Dermot Mulroney, Jack Palance. It just goes on. Like Kiefer Sutherland, fucking everybody's in
Phillips.
Lou Diamond Phillips, yeah. Like it, and it's another movie that's like infinitely quotable, has some great scenes in it. The fact that Charlie Sheen gets killed like halfway through the middle of the movie and you think he's going to be like the main star of the film, and it turns out to be Estevez. And yeah, it's just, I love the ending of that movie too. It's got the perfect ending for an 80s action movie like that, where he just rides up behind him, like out of the middle of nowhere, just shoots him right in the middle of the fucking forehead, and then just rides off. You don't even see it coming. Like you think they're just going to like go.
Reap
and then,
it.
yeah, it's just great. Yeah. And the whole peyote scene is it's a great scene, man. He's riding backwards on a fucking horse. Like, he's like, how you doing? Like, it's just amazing. So Young Guns is one of my favorites. One that I watched like a million times. Young Guns 2, by the way, is also outstanding, like in my opinion. My number 3 is Die Hard. I think we've all fucking talked about why. I don't know anything else I can say about Die Hard that we haven't already talked about. Like it's fucking killer. You've probably seen it. It's the best holiday film that exists. My number 2 is They Live. Like there's certain movies that just are in tune with my perspective, I guess. And like that's a movie that hit me like in all the right spots about what he was trying to say with that movie. And you know, the consumerism part, the kind of subliminal messages part, the fact that you could be like taken over and be doing all these things and not even really know that you're doing them, you know, because there's these people that are kind of over everything and are like guiding everything towards you behaving a certain way, which is actually true. And you see it now with like social media and stuff like that, and the way they kind of control all that. It's just the way that he went about doing it was genius by putting it as like aliens versus, you know, good guys. And it's just a great sci-fi horror film with Piper in like the perfect role. And yeah, it's got a really simple score, but I love the score to the movie too. It's like it's a guitar-esque kind of, you know, there. It just plays that part, you know, over again as things that, but it's really, really cool. I'm not huge on Meg Foster in that fucking movie. I don't know why. I just never was. Like, I don't like her character that much. Other than that, like, I think it's basically the perfect movie. Especially all the scenes in the bank and all that stuff. Like every part of that is gold.
Mm-hmm.
My number one is Bloodsport.
Okay.
Look, when I was a kid, like, I don't know, like, that's another movie where it's like, I don't know if there's another movie that I watched as much as that. You could put that, Predator, like a couple other ones together, and like those are the ones that I watched the most. To the point where it's like even the side character parts, like I know by heart. Like, you lose, American asshole. It's like everything about that movie. Okay, USA. I don't know. I couldn't tell you either. I couldn't tell you why that movie works as well as it does. First of all, the choreography on the fight scenes is amazing. And pretty much all, and everybody had their own like style. That was the interesting part about it. Like wherever they came from was connected to some sort of style, and that's how they fought. And you had the Muay Thai guys, and you had the boxer guys, you had like the British guy, like everybody, like they had the huge like sumo guy. They all had their shit. You had all of them like got their stuff in, so to speak. It's use a wrestling term. Like they all kind of got to showcase like what they could do in that throughout that movie. And it has the number one heel, the best heel with Bolo Young, like everybody's been saying. It's just, like just uncompromising, kind of like arrogant fucking heel. And that's it. That's my 88 list.
Nice. Very nice.
So here's some other picks here. The Vanishing, which we didn't mention. Miracle Mile, Last Temptation of Christ, Brain Damage, and A Fish Called Wanda. Yeah, I should have mentioned
Nice.
Good stuff.
Night of the Demons is number one. Wow. The Naked Gun, Hellbound, Phantasm 2, Lair of the White Worm. Honorable mention to Halloween 4.
I like all those.
Yep.
Yeah.
Die Hard, Bloodsport, The Blob, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and They Live. That's pretty close to what we were saying.
Great list.
They Live, Midnight Run, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Last Temptation of Christ, Scrooged. And then, Twins. I forgot about Twins came out that year.
Julius, I'm your brother.
There we go. There's another Bloodsport number one.
Nice.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Child's Play, They Live, Coming to America.
Good stuff.
Indie Phantom says, honorable mentions Talk Radio, Deadbeat at Dawn. Yeah, it's a great movie. Halloween 4, Frantic, Phantasm 2, The Blob, and Running on Empty. I don't think I've seen Running on Empty. That's one of these that I have not seen.
I haven't seen Deadbeat at Dawn in forever. Has that ever got like a upgrade from the original DVD set that it came out in?
Probably. I think I remember seeing it got like a Blu-ray or something from Arrow, maybe. But like, the only thing I have that on is the DVD. I've still got the DVD of that in the Jim Van Beber collection or whatever the fuck that was.
Yep, that's what I got.
Yeah. Honorable mentions to Halloween 4, Heathers, Twins, Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice is another one we didn't fucking mention, y'all. Coming to America, The Blob, Big, and Die Hard,
Yeah, I love Heathers.
Like I said, 88 is like impossible. Like you could interchange a lot of these. The Great Outdoors is a great movie. Halloween 4, Big, Heathers, Vampire's Kiss, honorable mention to The Blob, Killer Clowns, Mississippi Burning, Currently Dead 2.
Anybody say Critters 2?
No, not
No.
That's a fun one.
Child's Play, Rain Man. Yeah, They Live, Midnight Run, Die Hard. Beetlejuice, Die Hard, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Big Scrooge, Heathers, They Live. Yeah, there's no way to do 5 of those. I agree. I'm gonna get you, sucker. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh shit!
I gotta watch that again. It's been forever.
Wasn't there a thing where they're like addicted to gold and they
he over gold or something?
Yeah. He's wearing those fucking shoes that have the fish in them. I always remember that too. They Live, Child's Play 2, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and Naked Gun. Yep. Oh wow, I didn't even think about this one. Short Circuit, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, They Live, Die Hard, and Bloodsport. Some
Nice.
Bloodsport love in here, which I'm glad
yeah.
to see that. All right, I think we're caught up.
Okay.
So,
All right,
we're
Bobby,
going-
you got Rambo 3 on the list. Good. Nice to see someone on the list.
where's Bobby? I didn't see that.
Is that at the bottom? Just here.
Fuck, this quote, I forgot about this. Fuck the cup, just pour it in my hand for a dime. Let me get one rib. He goes, I sure am hungry. I'm gonna fucking kill you. Let's see.
Jacob says Cop. Is that the James Woods movie?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Cobb
Very
is a
good
great
one.
Cobb film. Colors is a great.
I love Colors. It's awesome. What the hell was it with like cop movies like around that time with just putting cop in
think
the title?
It had to be like Lethal Weapon and Die Hard, like all those movies. Like,
And because like the horror genre like took it somewhere else, and it's Maniac Cop, Psycho Cop,
Oh, yeah,
Demon
yeah.
Cop. It was a million of those movies.
maybe it's like in Asia where they put Evil Dead and everything, even if it didn't like apply to Evil Dead, like it had
Yeah.
Evil Dead in the title. Did you guys enjoy Tango and Cash and Lockup? I
Love
think,
Tango and Cash.
yeah, I think Rambo loves Tango and Cash too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that'll be coming up on the list for 89.
Yep. Same here.
Love Lockup, underrated film. Rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. My favorite role of his. Plays such a good evil warden.
That was that John
Yeah.
Flynn that directed
Yep.
that? Yeah, same guy that did Brain Scan, which I love.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
I love both those films.
You talking about Brain Scan with Edward Furlong?
Yes.
Man, that's
Same
like
director.
that's another incredibly underrated movie.
Mhm.
Like that whole movie and what like he was doing with, yeah, that's one that we need to do some sort of video or something about at some point.
I'd love to.
That'd be nice.
I'm a massive fan of Brain Scan. Saw that one in the theater.
All right, boys, we got 1 year left, and that is 1989, which was probably one of the biggest years in theater terms because of one particular film that I'm sure we'll talk about. And at some point, so what do you got, Matt? 1989.
Like you said, you just looked at the summer alone, it was an insane summer. But 3 honorable mentions. I put Shocker, which is my favorite Wes Craven film. I love Mitch Pileggi as Horace Pinker, and that's the way it is. I love the soundtrack, the vibe it had. Mitch Pileggi is just so much fun, and that's a film I could always watch. That's a lot of fun, that movie. I still find it a lot of fun. Cyborg, personal nostalgic favorite, being a Van Damme fan. I like what they were able to do with such a low budget. Yes, you see the flaws, but again, with how little pennies they had, it was still pretty satisfying and fun as an action fan, as a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan. And I love the villain, Fender. Fender, fucker! And then The Burbs. That's another honorable mention. I love The Burbs. Awesome film.
Yes. It's on my list.
Just my favorite Joe Dante movie. Just great humor. That cast from Tom Hanks to Bruce Dern. Yes, even Corey Feldman. He worked well for what he needed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And just a great slice of like suburbia paranoia, but just with such a great sense of humor. Even the bit with the ode to Sergio Leone, where it's like showing every person's eyes, including the dog's eyes,
Yeah.
while the music's playing. But that's my honorable mentions. Number 5, I put Weekend at Bernie's. I love that film. That's a film I watched a lot when I was a kid on VHS. I love the premise. As ridiculous as it is, I think Jonathan Silverman and Andrew McCarthy worked so well together.
I agree.
Terry Kaiser just played a very fun slime ball. And then like what they're doing to the dead body is such a fun mix of dark humor where it's like propping them up. Hey guys, hello everybody, just moving the arms with the strings. Or they're on the boat and it just all those things in the water it keeps bouncing off and like, Bernie.
Yeah.
Uh,
He hits the buoys or something.
Yeah.
And they're like taking like water skiing. He just fucking
And then I love Catherine Mary Stewart. I like her in
Yeah.
that movie.
Mm-hmm.
And funny enough, the same guy directed First Blood, directed that, which is crazy. Ted Kotcheff. So definitely a different.
That is fucking I didn't know that.
Yeah, same guy. But yeah, I love Weekend at Bernie's, childhood favorite of mine.
So many great throwaway lines too. Like Jonathan Silver walks up to Andrew McCarthy and he's like, "When did you get a Rolex?" He's like, "Well, Bernie didn't need it anymore. Just stole the watch off a dead guy."
So that's my number 5. Number 4, The Punisher with Dolph Lundgren. I love that film. Such a very, it's the guy who directed it. He did the Treat Williams film Dead Heat, but he was mainly an editor for action films. And because of his work on like Rambo 2, I think he worked on Terminator 2 afterward with editing. He knew how to pace an action film. And I'm a big Dolph Lundgren fan. I love it's a vigilante film with him, just killing literally like 70 people in different ways, as the Punisher should.
It is still, in my opinion, the best Punisher.
Yes.
Anything that came out, like including the new John Bernthal shit, like it's fine or whatever, but I still think that movie is insanely underrated movie.
Yep. Absolutely agree. It's a lot of fun. I like the characters, the cast, the plot dealing with the Yakuza and kidnapping of the kids. Like I said, a lot of cool little moments throughout. And Louis Gossett Jr. may he rest in peace. Loved him in it. I even love the bit where after he escapes, he beats the guy up with the pizza. Hey, that pizza.
Yeah.
But yeah, The Punisher's my number 4. Number 3, this was mentioned before, but Tango and Cash. I just, being a big fan of both Stallone and Kurt Russell, it was great to see those two together. And technically, that was the last film to be released in the 80s because it came out near the end of December, 89. And what a way to end a decade. Like, that really tells you what the 80s were. Big villains, whether it be Jack Palance or Robert Zadar. I loved you in Conan the Barbarian. To, you know, the character actors, whether it be Clint Howard or whether it be, what's his name? He was in Scrooged. He was Michael J. Pollard.
Oh, yeah.
Whether it be the big action set pieces like the RV, whatever the RV from Hell, and the big explosions, the dialogue they had where they're in trial and someone's lying about them. It's like, when we're done, we should pay Jabba the Hutt here a visit. You bring the chainsaw, I'll bring the beer.
Yeah.
Even from the opening where each one had their great action set pieces, Stallone did his ode to Jackie Chan, Police Story. In other words, he stole the scene, but it was still fun. But love Tango and Cash, just such an entertaining buddy cop action film that even though it had a lot of problems behind the scenes, a lot of additional photography, the director like got fired at one point and stuff. Just so much fun.
Did that not perform well? I always thought about like that could have been, they could have had a sequel to that.
It did okay, but I think with all the money they put in with the additional photography, there was a lot of production problems. Like I said, the director got fired because he was fighting with, might have been Joel Silver or someone up there.
Oh shit! You know how that goes.
I saw that movie at the theater, and I do remember at that time I was huge into movies and stuff. And I do remember saying, like, you know, you would get Entertainment Weekly, and I would get the magazine Entertainment Weekly at that point in time, and it was like it didn't do well. Like, and Entertainment Weekly always, I mean, it didn't do as well as they thought it would. They always had like the lists of the top 10 movies or whatever from that. You know, I don't remember if that was a monthly or a week. I don't remember how often well, Entertainment Weekly came out every week. So like they had the they had the weekly like list of movies and however they did and whatever. But like I just remember that movie came and kind of went quicker than like you would ever thought.
Yeah.
But and a lot of people were disappointed in it at that time, which was weird too for me as a kid, because like when you're a kid, like you see a movie like that and you think, oh, this is fucking amazing, and then it's just kind of like everybody's shitting on it. So I don't know. I'm not sure why at that time.
Me neither, but I've enjoyed it ever since. So that's my number 3. Number 2, one of my favorite comedies, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, with Richard Pryor and Gene
I was
Wilder.
hoping that you would put that in there. Yeah.
I love that film. I mean, they did great work together, but that was my favorite. One's blind, one's deaf, and just I love I forget her name. She plays sort of the female villain in the movie. Very beautiful lady. And just the way they work together, just the way the top was there a woman? Fuzzy Wuzzy was a woman? Why is he talking like that? Or you curse an awful lot. You fucking right, I curse. And it just Gene Wilder just making fun of the way he curses. Or when she asks Richard Pryor, "What do you want for your last wish?" He's like, "I guess a fuck is out of the question."
Yeah.
Just the way they work together, just the way their chemistry was, and Richard Pryor was going through afflictions because of his health. I think playing a blind guy actually worked out because he could hide a bit of that he could not later on, sadly.
Yeah.
And I even like the score by, I think, Stuart Copeland. He did the musical score. There's a lot of stuff I love about that film, and that's a film I watched a lot when I was a kid. Even the beginning where Richard Pryor's sister, like, don't make a scene. You're trying to pass it off as you can see. He's like, pass it off, you can white. He's like, you mean I'm not white? It feels like I'm white. Oh my God, sis, you're right. Does Dad know? But yeah, I love See No Evil, Hear No Evil quite a bit. And then number 1 is I always talked about this film a lot. This is a childhood favorite creature feature, but Leviathan.
Yeah. I kind of knew that was going to be up there somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, nostalgia does play a big part of it, but for that kind of monster movie, like monster movies, along with action movies, are the two things I grew up with the most. And I love the cast. I love the effects by Stan Winston. I love all the little bits and pieces, whether it be him punching Meg Foster in the face. I feel better, a lot better. Too.
You don't see that enough anymore in movies. Like,
No. And yeah, like, it's just one of those films that a lot of people may not understand, but it just always works for me whenever I see it. It is a slow burn, but I just love the look of it. I love the location. It is like Alien underwater, but that's kind of what I wanted out of it. And like I said, a lot of it's done in camera, practical. I love the vibe of the characters. And that's the thing, I think, long story short, I'm enjoying the film with the way the actors work with each other. Like Daniel Stern making fun of the one guy's like, yeah, I bet you're imploding your pants. You know? And yeah, Daniel Stern loves the titties. He's like, what a pair. And Lisa Albachner's like, what do you say? And like tries to fake it out, like, oh, what a pair. Like, but he's staring at her tits. And yeah, you call me Becky one more time, six pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All 6 of them. And the beautiful score. Beautiful score by Jerry Goldsmith. I love the film a lot. Again, would not be on anyone else's list, but it's a personal favorite of mine and had to put it in there. So there's my list there of 1989. But there's a lot of great choices to choose from.
Well, I like the fact that you went with like the personal ones that you like the best, like not the obvious kind of ones. Because 89 is like, I literally have 20, 25 movies down here that I was trying to like sort through to make, a top 5. So like I said, like it's impossible at this point. So Mark, I'm curious to see what you do with this shit. Because
Okay. Let's go. So honorable mentions. Punisher, which was on Matt's list. Easily one of my favorites. I have the VHS back there. Um, I love all the practical squib shots and all that stuff. I'm a big fan of that. It's still easily the best one, like you said. I like the Thomas Jane one. That one's fun, but it just there's something about like the one that Dolph Lundgren did. It's just got its
Yeah.
own level of awesomeness to it. So yeah, so that one, Kickboxer, got to mention that. Um, I would say you could probably put that on with the double feature of Bloodsport, and you'd have a hell of a time. Um, yeah, I mean, of course, the dance scene, which everybody knows.
Feeling so good today.
Yeah.
Fucking
Yeah,
shit.
it's become a huge meme, nowadays. But yeah, it's so great, so much fun. Love Kickboxer and Bloodsport. I there's so many that could be honorable mentions, but I'll just pick one out of the bunch. Roadhouse.
Roadhouse.
Yeah, just I mean, I was never huge into Swayze, but anytime he did pop up in anything, he was always reliable, always gave a solid performance. I think with Roadhouse, I mean, you got Terry Funk and like even Keith Davids, he's got more of a minor role in that. But I mean, just that whole thing, I think it's Kelly Lynch, right? Is the girl in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kelly Lynch.
Yeah, I mean, that it's such a like weird mix, but it seems to work for some reason.
Pain don't hurt. It was like pain don't hurt.
Exactly. Yeah, so it's a fun one.
Terry Funk's in it. I mean, come on, what's not to like?
Exactly. So number 5 is a shocker, which you mentioned. Just I don't know if that's my favorite Wes Craven, but it's definitely up there. Like, I mean, nobody's ever going to make a movie like that ever again. That's a once in a lifetime type of experience. Everybody's having nothing but fun. Peter Berg, like you said, Pileggi is just having a ball. Like when I met him, we talked about Shocker and the sequels, and like they had a whole like thing planned out that they were going to do. It was going to be even crazier than the first movie. And I was like, so, like how much crazier was it going to get? And he's like, you wouldn't even imagine. Wes had so many ideas that were just all over the place, but he's like, I trusted Wes, and it was going to work. And I wish they could have done it. But yeah, Shocker still remains one of my favorites. That music, it's on my phone. It's going to be in rotation forever. One of my favorite soundtracks ever. So yeah, number 5 was Shocker. Number 4 is Tango and Cash. Seen it a million times. Still have my VHS of that one. Could quote every line in the movie. And that's another one where there's a lot of really great timing by both guys. I'm not sure if like they had gotten along on set, but their chemistry was so good. I just wish we could have gotten another one, or just anything else with the two of them in it.
Oh, they definitely did. They're friends. I mean, even because they were in the same film, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and they like were having fun at the premiere and stuff. So they remain friends to this day, those two.
That's great. That's cool to know. Yeah, it's hell. It's got so many great action scenes. Terry Hatcher's very nice to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah, even I mean, Stallone's line, Rambo is a pussy.
Yeah.
When he shoots the truck and there's cocaine pouring out the side. What do you know? It's snowing. So it's it's just fucking great. I love Tango and Cash.
Listen, did you bump uglies with my sister? I was so drunk, I don't remember.
What about when Robert Zadar calls Stallone? He's like, "Do you fuck?" And Stallone's like, "He must mean you." And he's looking at Kurt Russell. But yeah, number 3, Back to the Future Part 2. Seen that so many damn times. It ups the stakes a lot with all the fun sequences of the future tech, the CGI, and all that stuff. They go even further than what they did with the first one. Just like even the acting is a bit over the top. But you could say that about, I guess, all of them in a way, especially like in the future when he's like, "When did you become the physical type?" So, yeah, it's definitely dialed up a bit, but I still enjoy it. Christopher Lloyd and Michael J. Fox is great tandem. One of my favorite on-screen pairs to watch, which you probably wouldn't even. I mean, that's such a odd pairing when you kind of look at it. Just not if the movies didn't exist, you would never think to cast those two guys in the same movie, but it works. So everybody knows about Back to the Future. Moving on to number 2. I got to put Last Crusade in there. That one I probably was going to put back a little further, but then I kept thinking about it more and more. I'm like, I just love that one. I think it's gotten a lot more love. I don't know if it was ever poorly received, but it's definitely very well received these days. I love the whole Holy Grail sub story. I guess that is the main story, not subplot. But there's so much going on in that one. I love it.
The father and son dynamic with Sean Connery is really good.
Exactly.
And I think everyone likes it unless you're Tarantino.
Does Tarantino not like it?
I don't get that.
No, he wasn't big on it. I think he said he liked the fourth one more.
Oh, fuck him.
He's so fucking weird because he's like, the 80s is the worst decade.
Yeah.
One of the worst decades. I'm like,
I remember that.
You're insane. I could never agree with him. But yeah. Yeah, but Indiana Jones, everybody knows about Last Crusade. Number 1, though, The Burbs.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a movie I could quote till the end of time.
Yep.
I love the dialogue. And it's so funny because a lot of it does have to do with that cast that they got together, from Dern to Hanks, like you mentioned, Matt. Like those guys, like they really got the comedy. Because if you take that cast out, you put a different cast in, that movie doesn't have the same comedic levels to it. It just doesn't. Because honestly, as fun as the lines are, I think it's a lot of the actors making it that way. And Joe Dante's direction. It is kind of a basic script. I mean, neighbors next door are basically killers, and there's some tongue-in-cheek humor. That's kind of a very basic story. Like, it's not a whole lot to it. But those performances that Joe Dante got out of those guys, I mean, that's just awesome. Carrie Fisher, so many great people in it, and just fun all around. That's my favorite Joe Dante movie as well. So yeah, that's it for me. That's 89.
What a crazy movie that is too. Like it has it's like it exists in a different world too.
Yeah.
Burbs, like it's like a different, I don't know. It's one of those movies they really were able to achieve like a whole, like it's familiar because it's suburbia, but it's like not, because everybody's so crazy in it. Like, and they're all crazy in different ways that it's such a, such an interesting movie.
And like I was saying, how basic the script is, but like you look at what else Dana Olson wrote. Like she worked on like George of the Jungle, Memoirs of an Invisible Man. Like none of that other stuff feels anywhere near as close to like what the Burbs became. So yeah, it's definitely a special one to me.
Indie Phantom, like I will go ahead and confirm to you that like they 100% stole a lot of things from Neighbors for the Burbs. It's when you see those movies, like you exactly know too. I mean, just the whole tone of the movie, really. Okay, 89 honorable mentions, best of the best. I love that fucking movie. Like, I don't care. I do not care. I know for a fact
that cast, man,
that cast is great.
Awesome.
But Eric Roberts can't do shit, and neither can Chris Penn. Chris Penn ain't doing no karate. Like I guarantee it. but that movie is great. The ending
is.
where they're all matched up against like one another, like it's perfect. So I put that one on there. I also put The Killer, John Woo, came out that year.
Of course.
That's like
Great
a
pick.
classic action
Yes.
film, just hitman kind of film, great movie, great action sequences. Everything in that movie is great. I would also probably honorably mention Jesus. There's so many things to mention. License to Kill. Timothy Dalton. I grew up on that Bond. Like that was the Bond that I watched. So that's the one I always like associated with. So like I really like that movie too. Like I don't everybody shit on him as Bond or whatever, but like I always liked that.
Same here. I never
I
really
don't know.
understood the hate. I don't even know why they said they hated him.
I don't get it either. It's always been like one of those weird things for me. There's like 10 more on here that I could shout out to, but I won't for the sake of time. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you, and I know this is nostalgia. I know it is. Before you say anything, I already know it's based off of nostalgia. And they're trying to sell us all something. But this movie is fucking a part of my childhood, so don't give me shit. Number 5 is The Wizard. Like it just is. Fred Savage, like, does a great job. It's probably the first or one of the first films that kind of deals with like what you would later know to be like autism, because the kid, like the brother, like is like completely like immersed in that game and is like amazing at it. And yes, it is basically like one giant fucking advertisement for Nintendo, Power Glove, all that. I got it. Yeah. But there's something about that movie when you're a kid growing up and like you're playing Nintendo and like that's like, that just came along and that movie is like based towards you. And like, I could still watch that movie. I don't know. I can. I don't know why. I know it's not a great movie, but like it's one that is for me anyway. Number 4, Mark, you already mentioned this, was Back to the Future 2. Back to the Future 2 is like they kind of, it's not as good to me as Back to the Future, but like they took a lot of the beats and kind of like updated them, and it's a great logical extension of like the first movie too. It works in that way, and it creates like that other part of the universe. And all the stuff with the hoverboard was huge when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And the shoes, the fucking
The
all
sports
that,
almanac and all
the
that
sports
stuff.
almanac.
There's so many props that are memorable.
Yeah. And there's so much about that movie too, like that is just great. The performances are great. Yeah. So Back to the Future 2 would be my number 4. My number 3 is Kickboxer. Again, another Van Damme movie made my list. But those two movies are kind of like almost the same movie to me. Like I know there's not a tournament or anything in that one, but like it's basically like I like them almost equally well. I think I like Bloodsport a little bit more, to be honest, mostly because of Bolo Young.
Yeah,
But like Tom Poe is a fucking great villain, and there's some great lines in that. I don't know. I like everything about Kickboxer. Like the part where the guy's like, what does he say to him? He goes, let Tom Poe punish you for 7 or how many rounds? Or brother, die very slowly. Like, it's just, and he's like, Tom Poe, that you bleed like Melee. Melee, good fuck. Oh, yeah. That movie is legendary. And no, it's not like, it's not going to win any Oscars or any kind of art awards or anything, but it's fucking amazing. Like the action scenes are great. It's got a great story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My number 2 is UHF. I think that's possibly the most underrated comedy of all time. It bombed when it came out. it is fucking from start to finish hilarious. Like, because it takes all these premises and of these TV shows that are out around that time and like fucking amps them up to 11 on what they would be. So there's Conan the Librarian, there's fucking Spatula City, there's the shit with the dude with the chihuahuas and all that. Like it's like the Animal Kingdom or something, but he's just got basically dogs and shit, like birds. And yeah, what is it? Uncle Nutsy's Uncle Nutsy's Clubhouse, something like that. Fucking amazing. And Weird Al is just great. He basically took what he did with songs, with the parodies and everything, and just turned it into like TV and movies and things. The Rambo sequence, like, is fucking outstanding. And I think my favorite is fucking the Conan sequence, though. Like, he picks that guy up. Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System? Fucking chops that one guy in half for turning the books late. I just think that's for some reason that's my style of humor, and I love that movie. So UHF. So in 1989, if you were a kid, you stood in line for a really, really fucking long time to see this movie. So there's no way in the world that there was any movie that was bigger than this movie in my childhood. It just was. It just was what it was. And it's still to this day, I think it's probably my favorite Batman movie. Which is the original Batman with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson. It's like whatever. Yeah. I mean, yes, Heath Ledger's great. That movie is great. Batman Begins is great. There's been a lot of great Batman movies since then, but that is like my whatever era and I still think that that's the best Batman. Fucking whatever, Christian Bale and all that shit, but I still think Keaton was the best Batman.
Okay, I was gonna say like Batman movie or just Keaton.
No, just the actual character Batman, like how he did Batman.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to say about Batman. Like everybody's fucking seen Batman. Like,
yeah, it almost made my list, but there's so many. It's so hard to.
I mean, that was the first movie where I remember standing in line around a block. Like, there were so many fucking people that it was sold out. Like, if you didn't get there an hour ahead of time, you were fucked. Like, it didn't matter. They had hats, they had shirts, you had lunch boxes. Just everything was tied into that fucking movie. Like, it was like so huge. And I remember watching it too with my dad, and like we're sitting there in the theater. I just remember thinking like it was darker than I thought it was going to be in terms of like tone wise. Like Nicholson's Joker was like dark. I mean, he's fucking electrocuting people to death, shooting people. Like, it's not like campy or anything like that. It's very, very violent.
Yeah.
And he was very kind of menacing too as the Joker, which I like. You kind of believe that he could kill anybody. But that's my 1989 list.
Great list.
Let's see what
we got. 2 super chats, one from Bobby and one from Freddie Lit.
So Bobby says,
this is when I started talking. So this is a list for 87.
87. Okay.
88. I mean
88. He didn't. Okay. New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking, Halloween 4, Beetlejuice,
and Die Hard.
Die Hard. Okay. Damn, boys, I would not have thought of the New Adventures of Pippi Longstocking, although I did love that movie when I was a kid. Brady Lit says no one's number one.
No,
that is just. I don't even know where I would put that movie.
Yeah, I don't know.
Like,
it's unique.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But
really kind of unrankable.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I would say to somebody, like, I recommend you watch Society. Like, I feel like they'd come back and be like, what the fuck? What's wrong with you? So, let's see. Let's get some 89 lists on here real quick. Alfred Romero says he's still waiting for Gandhi too. Those are one in UHF. So we got, let's see, Adam says, Do the Right Thing, Parenthood, Field of Dreams, Major League, and The Burbs. Yeah, I almost called it Major League in there because it's like one of my favorite comedies that I watched a million times around that time period, but I had to put UHF above it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that guy in Major League, the one that did all those like car commercials later. It's like the bat. It's like, fuck you. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. What's his name of that?
Serrano?
Serrano?
Yeah. With the voodoo, and it's like, fuck you, I do it myself.
Yeah. You know, help me now, Joe Boo. Fuck you.
Yeah. Joe Boo, that's right. That's what it was, Joe Boo.
Bartender, Joe Boo needs a refill. Fucking God. Let's see. 89 UHF, Kill Me Again, The Killer, Do the Right Thing, Major League, honorable mentions in the Line of Duty, Night Visitor. Damn. No Arnold movie in 89. That's hard to believe.
Yeah.
He must have taken a break.
Well, I guess he would have been shooting Total Recall at the time for to come out in 90, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Give the people air. The Abyss. The Abyss should have been an honorable mention. Miracle Mile, Sex Lies and Videotape, Henry V.
Henry V, yeah.
Henry V. Glory. Yeah, Glory was great too.
Love The Abyss, and Miracle Mile is an underrated one. Very unique ending, I'll put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Batman, Back to the Future 2, Kickboxer, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and Pet Sematary. Neither one of us mentioned Pet Sematary, which is wild.
Yeah, I thought about that one.
Let's see. The Killer, Miracles, Jackie Chan movie, Field of Dreams, Pet Sematary, and Driving Miss Daisy. I didn't even think about Driving Miss Daisy. Batman, Back to the Future, Ghostbusters 2. Did Ghostbusters 2 come out in 89?
Yep, it did.
Damn,
Summer.
Lethal Weapon 2 also, yeah. License to Kill. Honorable mention to Black Rain. That's an interesting one with Michael Douglas. Punisher, Cyborg, Christmas Vacation, Lean on Me, great movie with Morgan Freeman. Glory, another great movie with Denzel and Morgan Freeman. And Kickboxer.
Love Black Rain. One of those really Scott films I actually enjoy.
Yeah, one of the very few that wasn't alien related.
Yeah.
Batman, Little Monsters, yeah. Red Savage, Roadhouse, Christmas Vacation, Little Nemo, Little Mermaid, Dream Team. Dream Team's great. I always forget about that movie. Intruder's great. There's a slasher, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Back to the Future 2, Blind Fury with Rutger Hauer, which is also fucking great.
I used to watch that one all the time. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Yep.
That and Bill and Ted, which was also 89.
Bill and Ted was right here. Field of Dreams, Bill and Ted, The Killer, Lethal Weapon 2, and Born on the 4th of July.
Nice.
Indy says honorable mentions to Johnny Hanson, Back to the Future 2, Do the Right Thing, Batman, Casualties of War. Wow.
Nice.
And Born on the 4th of July. I haven't heard anybody mention Casualties of War in a long time.
That's a great one, though.
Where's all the Clown House fans?
Oh, shit. Damn it, Mark. Let's see. Honorable mention Bill and Ted, Wicked at Murrysville Dreams, Do the Right Thing, Tango and Cash, Batman, Uncle Buck, Indiana Jones Last Crusade. Alpha says Pet Sematary, Last Crusade. Look Who's Talking. Uncle Buck. I love Uncle Buck. And UHF, yeah. There's a lot of 89 fans in here. Lethal Weapon 2, Last Crusade, Tango and Cash, Batman, Christmas Vacation. Christmas Vacation, Pet Sematary, Back to the Future 2. It's like, yeah. This is, I'm getting a pattern down.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm Madman. Jesus. Now that's a fucking
Forgot about that.
yeah.
Totally
that's a
forgot about that.
deep dive right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Good movie though. Scream Factory unfortunately came out with it. Yeah. Justin says The Burbs, Kickboxer, Ghostbusters 2, Batman, and Pet Sematary.
Good stuff.
I think I'm caught up. All right.
Cool.
Nice.
So a shade under 3 hours. Like there's just no other way to get. Like it's just going to be a 3 hour long show when we do these, no matter what.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man. I mean, that is 86 through 89. A lot of great films, especially in the late 80s. Like there's so many films to choose from, man.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Sean says Indiana Jones Last Crusade, the Bear movie, not the show I once requested to Matt. Okay.
Oh, the bear. Okay, that's cool. Interesting little film there. And Last Crusade, yeah, I enjoy that as well.
Yep.
Despite what Tarantino says. Yeah.
He's crazy.
He really is. If you don't like that fucking movie.
Thank you, Sean.
So Justin's asking, will 90 through 99 be next?
Not all in one video.
No, definitely not.
You imagine that? Like a 6 hour long video.
Yeah. In 2 parts. Yeah.
At least, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we got to do the 90s. I think after the 90s, we should call it a day because it kind of goes fucking steadily downhill after that.
I would be curious, like 2005. What the hell you like?
I think at least 2000 to 2010 would be interesting because it is so
That'd be
much.
hilarious.
Yeah, yeah. Those are such divisive years. I mean, it's so much
Resident
crazy
Evil and shit be on there.
shit. Exactly.
So let's see. Sean says, so here's a funny story. My family and I stopped at Iowa during our most recent trip, and Field of Dreams was on.
I know the feeling. I lived in Iowa, and Field of Dreams was definitely popular there. So great movie. I still enjoy it.
After the 90s, these films will be a lot shorter. These lists will be a lot shorter. Yeah. Streams will be like 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is, will that be next week that we start?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you guys. Like, do you want to break that up or do you want to go straight into like the 90s?
Unless we ask the chat.
Yeah, which one do you prefer? I mean, we could go back to doing like a bullshit show or something like that to break it up and then go back to or we could just go straight into the 90s, like 90 to 95, whichever one.
Yeah.
Probably 90 to 94 because that'd be 5 years.
Yeah.
90,
That's
91.
true.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that people in the chat, do you want to do 1990, 1994 top 5 from each of us or just random 90s? Go straight to the 90s? Back to the future of the 90s?
Eddie Murphy as Falcon. U.S. culture stopped in the 2000s. That's killing. Yeah, he kind of did.
90s, 90, 94. Please do 90s.
I mean, it's pretty much unanimous. Yeah, so we
Gotta do it. There you go.
We got to give the people what they want.
I see.
Give them air.
Give the people air.
Do it now.
Billy, you get to the chopper now.
Billy, what are you doing?
Okay.
All
Consider
right.
this a divorce.
Man, Sharon Stone though around that time.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I watched that around that time. I was like, who the hell is this? Jesus. Anyway. So yeah, we'll do 90 to 94 next week. Next Friday night. So that being said, Matt, what do you got coming up? What's going on?
Well, long story short, I uploaded my review of 10-inch Mutant Ninja Turtles. Everyone wants to see that review. Phantasmaffy is in here. He sent a request for a German thriller called Out of Order. That will be up sometime tomorrow, which was interesting. It is a German elevator thriller film from the 1984, actually. Other than that, some random stuff. Request for my top 10 favorite horror films of the 21st century. which was a bit tough, but I was able to make it work.
Sorry. There's a comment. Well, I need Vaseline for that review, man. I think he's talking about 10-inch.
No, yeah, P. Diddy's baby oil. He had 1,000 of them. He did give up some for you. Other stuff, some reactions. Freddie Lit, you're in the chat. I know you sent in a request for reaction to a video. Reviews of films like Creep 2, which is a found footage horror film. Girls Just Want to Have Fun, which is an 80s movie with Helen Hunt and what was it? The girl from Sex and the City.
Oh,
Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, with her in it. Totally 80s movie. Definitely. I mean, and random stuff like that. I got requests to do like the Carrie TV movie remake, which I've never seen before with Angela Bettis.
Yep.
So I'll be giving that a look.
That's an interesting one.
And much more to come. So I pretty much upload every day. So trust me, every day you'll see something up there. So feel free to stay tuned if you wish.
Cool.
How about you, Mark?
Oh, fuck.
Now that you got the internet back.
I know I've been without internet for pretty much like 2 weeks. So really just the same stuff that I was supposed to upload last time. Last time we did the stream, it was it Friday, like about 2 weeks ago. And I was going to upload a bunch of stuff the next day. And then literally Saturday, my internet was out. So yeah, those same videos that need to go up. I finally got internet access. So those will be going back up. Should be tomorrow or a day after, one of the two.
Cool.
So over at Dead Pit, I know Sunday, me and Garrett are going to be doing the Bravo 100 Scariest Movie Moments, episode 368 through 54. So we're going 15 at a time, trying to count all these down. So we'll see what happens. Is Rambo fucking frozen?
What happened?
Or am I frozen?
Nobody's frozen for me.
Oh, okay.
Both look
That's
okay.
right. All right, good.
It was frozen for me. I didn't know what was going on.
Something was happening there for a second, but we're good. So that's the only thing I know coming out for right now. I'm sure there's more shit, but CK don't get back until tomorrow anyway. So like all the regular Dead Pit stuff's on hold until he gets back. So it'll be Garrett on Sunday, and then we'll kind of move forward from there. And the big month is coming up with Halloween. We'll have a lot of shit coming up for that shortly. So that being said, for Rambo and for Mark, I'm Uncle Bill over at Dead Pit, and this has been an overall blast. And I thank everybody for coming in and everybody for contributing to the lists and the show. And we will come back with the 90s, and that'll be a fucking trip right there. But yeah. Check us all out, and we will see y'all later.
I'd like to tell people, thumbs up the video, Uncle Bill.
Would you?
Yes. Thumbs it up with violence and fury, and just love everything about it.
You hit the heart button, then you hit the ass button, then you hit the go fuck yourself button. Follow that up with the I don't give a shit button.
There's all kinds of wonderful shirts over at shop.deadpit.com. Simply the best horror shirts. On TeePublic, there are others, but they all suck. You can get some Dead Pit Radio shirts. You can get Last House on the Left. The Hills Have Eyes. Texas Chainsaw. Oh, wait, you can't say Texas Chainsaw. All kinds of shirts, folks. You're gonna love them. Shop.deadpit.com.
Special thanks goes out to our supporters on Patreon. Do you know what kind of stuff you can get on Patreon, Uncle Bill, starting at only $1 a month?
What's that?
Access to every Dead Pit show since 2005. We got almost 200 fan commentaries that we've done over the decades.
We have a literal jukebox full of songs and thousands of reviews. I don't even know how many shows are up on there now that we've done over the years.
Hundreds of thousands.
You need to figure this out now and subscribe to us on Patreon and YouTube and Instagram and help us to 1 million. The road to 1 million subscribers starts today.
So deadpitonpatreon.com. Join today. Tiers start at only $1.